are live.
Internet.
Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon,
And I'm Nathan.
and we have another very special episode. We have the 1986 movie Manhunter. Nathan, do you have a history with Manhunter?
Yes, I do. It was the first what was it? How would I say? It was the first like movie I watched where I read the book
Oh, yeah?
because the way I watched this initially was like on USA Network,
Huh, okay.
which was sort of a redacted version. And even at that age, because this came out in '86, so I would have been, I don't know, 12, something like that. So yeah, no, yeah, I would have been yes, 84. I would have been so I'd have been 12. So I couldn't readily go rent this movie anywhere.
No, you've
But
been. Oh,
I
yeah, never mind, never mind.
I could get the book from the library and read it. So
Yeah, I think I think Dad had the book on tape for this at one time, and I heard like the ending of Red Dragon, but I didn't had no context for it because Dad was near the end of it, and it became a road trip, and I was just hearing the end of it. So
okay, yeah, I remember watching this and then like trying to because it wasn't called Red Dragon, which is what the book's called. It's called Manhunter. And I
oh, the
remember
book's called Manhunter.
no, the book's called Red Dragon.
Okay, 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 okay.
The only movie available was called
Yes,
Man.
yeah, okay.
So I was like, I want to find out more about this because I thought this was a cool movie because I know this guy did Miami Vice, directed.
Yeah.
This. That was my like kids logic at that time. So I thought Miami Vice was cool, and it was like, oh, it's like a Miami Vice movie but with different people, and it looks the same, and it does, kind of. It's a little more nuanced than Miami Vice, but it was also a movie. But yeah, I remember like reading the book, which was like shocking for when you're
Yeah, yeah.
13 years old, you're reading this book like, oh my god, but nobody cares because like, look, he's reading a book. It's like, what's he reading? Don't ask, but he's reading a book. um, and then
Do you know anything about Thomas Harris? Like, were these big books? Like, I think they were. So.
yeah, I mean they were well regarded. I don't know about the sales. I know Thomas Harris has only written like 5 or 6 books.
Yeah, because I don't know him for anything other than these.
He's not a he's I think he's done 2 interviews with the public.
Okay.
He's a Southern gentleman. I forget where he's from, Georgia or Louisiana. I don't know which.
I guess Georgia. There seems
But
to be
yeah,
serial killers there, and that's a part in this movie, so who knows?
but I know he's like everyone says like, oh, he's a jolly, fun guy, and he used to do a lot of volunteer work, and nobody knew who he was because he wouldn't tell them. He'd be like, yeah, I'm Tom, and like nobody was like, that's the guy who wrote Silence of the Lambs. No, he never advertised. And he also took all the classes to be like a French chef. Like he
Yeah.
knows how to cook like that. So it's like, huh? He's had some interesting talent, and he's kind of developed that into some amazing storytelling. But the books are as creepy as you want to read. Well, the thing is, there's 2 movies that were made from this book. There was Manhunter and Red Dragon. And the reason they didn't call this Red Dragon in '86 was they were worried it would be confused with either another movie that was out or people would think it was a
Oh yeah, what was the?
or something.
Yeah, there was oh, the Michael Cimino or Kumio movie that had dragon in the title.
Oh, Year of the Dragon?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That was I know that they liked like everyone involved with the movie like, yeah, Red Dragon's a cool title. But Dino De Laurentiis Corporation said no, change it to something else because it's confused with some of our other products and it's like, oh, okay, so then it became Manhunter.
Yeah.
And then there was another movie made much later about the same book called Red Dragon, but with the more traditional Silence of the Lambs crew involved in it.
Oh, weirdly, the same cinematographer.
Yeah, same cinematographer, different
But he's
director.
Italian, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was kind of but yeah, if you want to read Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs, they are as weird and horrible, even more so than the movies.
Okay.
But you can watch them, and they work together well. Watching the movie and reading the book, it's like, oh, I have a visual for this now.
Yeah.
Because all the movies that they've made, well, the two main movies, the three main movies I like, which are this, Red Dragon, and The Silence of the Lambs. It's like, oh, they complement the books well. They don't include everything, but they do. It's like it works well together. So, but my experience with this one in particular was kind of a verse because I couldn't see a real like cut of the movie that wasn't on like USA Network or something until a
Yeah.
lot later because you couldn't show things like that on TV unless you had HBO or something, which we didn't. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
that was my experience with this movie initially.
So yeah, I didn't know about this movie till like the DVD boom,
Yeah,
and then of course they, did the correct advertising, made a double disc DVD set for it, and put like from director Michael Mann, and also somewhere like the origin of Hannibal Lecter, and I'm like, what the hell's this? And then it's like, and I rented it. And it's like, oh man, this is a really cool movie for what it is. So, and then I'm like, sitting there like, wait, this is Hannibal Lecter. It's like, where's Clarice and all that stuff? Having no idea because like by that time, Silence is the Lamb is what this whole
yes,
universe for, and not nothing else. So,
right. Yeah,
um,
it's this is one of those movies that like it got me. It's one of those things that got me paying attention to movies that wasn't science fiction.
yeah,
Because I've always talked about Blade Runner because I'm that guy. But this movie also got me like, it's like, oh, movies can be cool like TV shows, like in my kid brain.
yeah.
And you get older and you're like, yeah, this is actually a great movie. One of the best movies of the 80s that like it was just completely steamrollered by Silence of the Lambs. But yeah, this was one
Well,
of
I
those
mean,
movies.
rightfully so. Like Silence of the Lambs is a revolutionary and better
Oh
movie, and almost no one's ever replicated
no,
it. And it's not like, and it's like weird because it's not like it's not like Silence of the Lambs has this really obvious style to steal from. It's just so subtly brilliant, and
yeah.
it's hard to steal that.
Well, see, like I said, this movie kind of got me started. By the time Silence of the Lambs, the movie came out, it's like, oh, I'm into movies now.
Yeah,
I love this stuff. This is
and I
definitely
and I and like
enthralled me.
they both seem like movies of their decades in some
Yes.
way,
Yeah.
but there's only 5 years apart, and they seem like
Yeah.
completely different movies.
Well, I learned with Silence of the Lambs because I got the Criterion with all the interviews and all the supplemental materials.
Yeah,
As much of that had to do with Jodie Foster and oh, who was the guy who played Crawford? There was the director of that movie let the actors bring and Anthony Hopkins.
yeah, yeah.
He's like, yeah, bring these were all awesome actors, and he's like, yeah, bring your thing. Let's see what happens. And then, of course, the way it was shot, the way the story was
Well,
put
and
together.
Jonathan Demme, who at that time had done weird comedies,
Yeah, like Married to the Mob.
which weirdly also has Goodbye Horses in
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you pick your favorites. I didn't know that, but yeah, but Silence of the Lambs was like, oh yeah, they've tried to copy that movie ever since. I mean, it's like everyone's tried to like, let's do another Silence of the Lambs type movie, and no one can do it
Well, yeah.
because
Well, it also seems like that way when people make Die Hard ripoffs,
yeah.
where they're like, "Let's dumb it down for the audience." It's like, wait, what?
Well, Silence of the Lambs is one of those things that's like No Country for Old Men. Yeah, great filmmakers, actors, people coming together at the top of their game, and also very powerful source material.
Yes.
It's like that's what makes these things brilliant. It's like we correctly interpreted the source material and put it on film because it's real easy for that to go the other way.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of that was one of those.
Well, like the source material is so rich, and the people producing the movie are so good at like you could have made silent movies out of these things, like,
Yeah, oh yeah,
and they would have worked.
it's a little avant-garde, but people will be like, yeah, I'm kind of into this.
How
Sorry.
trusting are you of your audience?
So yeah.
Sorry.
Uh, but yeah, but Manhunter was kind of the redheaded stepchild of the Lecter universe for a
Oh yeah,
while,
yeah,
and now it's had this complete renaissance where it's not like perfect, but people are like, that was actually for the '80s. That was cool.
Well, yeah,
And
and you got the Hannibal series, which basically just did all three movies as seasons.
yeah,
Um, and like and the TV show is it's about Will Graham. I don't think Clarice ever shows up in the TV
yeah.
show, or maybe she does. I can't remember. I didn't get to that third
There was
season,
a
so
TV show called Clarice,
there
but
was.
yeah, but it only ran 1 year, and I think it was on a streamer, and they did
Okay,
rights to because the De Laurentiis Corporation had the
right.
right to Hannibal Lecter, so they couldn't mention Hannibal Lecter, and there was other, but they had the rights to Clarice Starling.
Yeah,
So they were trying to do a post Silence of the Lambs.
it's
What
like
happened?
this is like when they made that like non Bond movie that was like
Yes.
had to technically be a remake of like Moon or no Thunderball. Yeah. Uh,
So the mic actually go silent when I did
oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't know if I hit the right button. So
Yep.
good. Okay.
I was just pausing for brilliance. You know.
It's brilliant. But at least I'm at the tail end of whatever this is. But yeah, um, yeah. So this movie was. I remember this movie was something I experienced as a TV show that I knew was, or I'm sorry, a movie that I knew was edited and a book that was unedited, and then viewing it again, it's like, yeah, this is cool. They really got this.
Yeah.
And I also just like the moodiness of it. I call it the. I like this. This is what I call the blue oblivion color scheme.
Yeah.
That's why I have the room lit this way tonight, because it's everything's like dark blue for the good guys, and everything's like a weird green and orange for the bad guys. Um, and this was the cinematographer, and this of course this was also the '80s, and it was
And then
shot.
this had to be another Tangerine Dream soundtrack, right?
Oh, no Tangerine Dream this time, no,
Really? Okay.
because this was a movie like because we had Thief, and then we had The Keep, and then we had this, I believe, is The Order. I think maybe there was something
Yeah,
before.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no Tangerine Dream in this one. It was a different crew of
Okay.
people, and they also included. They also did like, well, they had Anagata DeVita. That was like that's one of the most famous. What do they call that? Diagenic scenes in a movie
Oh
was
yeah,
the
diegetic. Yeah, the
yeah
the
when
song exists in the scene. So
yeah when Dollarhide plays Anagata DeVita to mute out the senses of a blind woman and
yeah.
stuff. It's like yeah, that's his. But the rest of this, some of it was
Was that in the book, or was that just a Michael Mann thing?
no. What was he doing? No, this is a Michael Mann thing for the movie.
Okay.
The book, he was playing something, but it wasn't that.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't.
That's also not the end of the movie in the book.
Yeah, no. The book's a lot different. Yeah,
Because I think that's the only thing that the Red Dragon remake got right was like the end was closer.
yes.
And then they paid Anthony Hopkins like $20 million to show up for 5 minutes in the movie.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, get yours, Anthony.
Dig deep. That home in Malibu is not going to pay for itself. But yeah, this was.
And like weirdly, that Red Dragon movie is fine. It's just like, again, they made like the most tepid movie out of the source material. Like it's all there, but there's nothing like there's no like soul to it. I guess.
Yeah, it fits very well into the Silence of the Lambs Lecter universe from the '90s.
Yeah.
It's like more in that template
Yeah.
because this movie does. What I like about this movie is as gory and grotesque is what's going on. They do hold back to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like they don't reveal everything. A lot of the horror you see is like visualized through the characters reacting to what's being seen.
Or yeah, well, like yeah, they give you enough to like spark your imagination, and then you just kind of listen to Will say what happened, and it just gets worse and worse with every detail.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what? That's what happened? Jesus.
Oh God, what's wrong with this? They show you like a bloody crime scene, and then he's looking at the crime scene photos, but you don't see. You just see a crime scene where the walls and the floor are just saturated in blood,
Yeah.
and it's like you're not seeing the actual bodies, or you're seeing glimpses,
Yeah.
or you're getting passes, or you're actually being shown the people when they were alive, which is actually worse in some way.
Yeah.
they're smiling and having fun. It's like, well, yeah, that's before they got butchered. But yeah, so the movie does a great job with stuff like that, with not being just full on gore. Whereas more of the later stuff, they do hold back a little bit, but you can tell they're less constrained. They're not doing an '80s movie anymore. So
Yeah, that's yeah nine the the Silence of the Lambs is this weird kind of like cerebral horror slasher movie
yeah,
where it's like you get the goriness of like a Friday the 13th movie, but you get like the intrigue of a thriller that's done expertly. So
yeah, yeah. Where this one is more of a kind of an exercise in.
I mean, it's Michael Mann, so it's got style like for days.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Long contemplative stuff, and but it's still very neat.
It's shots very well composed in almost total darkness or the brightest sun you've ever seen.
Yeah,
It still looks good. Guys with their back to each other,
yeah.
beach, the sun's coming in. It's like this looks like a great place to be. Why are these people miserable? And then, yeah, here's a picture of slaughtered families. It's like, oh, this is why everyone's miserable. Okay. Even though you know that's what it's about, the way the scenes are composed and put together are pretty good.
um.
Also reread the book and watched the movie for this, and
Oh, really? Okay.
I was surprised how closely the dialogue in the movie like follows along pretty well with the book.
Huh.
There's a few things that deviate, but because Will Graham's a little more thoughtful a character in the book and a little less like energetic, but other than that, it's like yeah, they pretty much nails him. They do a good job with moving the dialogue from the book to the screen in a way that's like, yeah, I would have included that line. I would have, or there was very few things I would have left out. There was some cornier stuff that went on, but that was like character development that you
So
just have to do in a movie.
does the Lecter stuff ever have like a scene unto itself, or is it always just the past tense of what's going on?
It's pretty much as presented in the movie.
Okay, all right.
There's letters that Lecter sends to Will. He manages to sneak more letters out. The FBI usually intercepts him. Sometimes they let him read them. Sometimes they don't. There is more of that in the book. But yeah, the Lecter scenes and stuff it's all pretty much straight from the book.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean I again have an imperfect memory, so I could be wrong on
Well,
some of.
like I could imagine that like the book starting with the capturing of Hannibal Lecter, and then that leading up into like explaining why Will doesn't want to do this anymore, but also he's the best at it. So what are you gonna do? Or here it's just kind of like he seems solemn. He doesn't want to do a job, but he also knows he's the best at it, and you kind of figure that out as you go along. Is like what happened to him, and like what does this do to him?
The Lecter thing is mentioned,
Yeah.
but there was also stuff that went on like in the '70s before that was not as horrible a personal attack because he almost Lecter almost killed him. Um, but what he had to do with people to stop things with he had to do to a guy with a gun was like vividly and horrifyingly described. It's like, oh yeah, I know why this guy doesn't want to do this kind of work. It's like he had to basically take a guy apart with a gun. When he didn't want to, he was holding a woman hostage.
Yeah.
There's a reason. It's never explained in the movie, but the reason he uses like a 44 special bulldog is because he hates the 38 special because he was trying to stop a guy and he had to blow the guy apart to make the attack stop, and he hated himself for having to do that.
Oh, okay.
He wanted a gun that's like, I want a one-shot stop gun. I don't want
What?
to do 38 stuff again.
Yeah, there's mentions in the movie of Lecter saying of him shooting a guy, which doesn't gets kind of it's kind of glanced over, and he says like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you liked it. That's why you hated yourself for it." So,
Yeah, there's things in the book that make and you got to remember this is the Hannibal Lecter universe that was established for the 3-book series. So they kind of they follow that logic all the way through, but the thing with Hannibal Lecter is like they'll because they have a like the Harvard School of Psychiatry as a character in Red Dragon 2, and he's like the expert that they all go to. And when it comes to like what is Lecter, what makes him tick, and he's like, well, generically they'll call him a psychopath because they actually don't know what he is. And see, that plays back into Will because they don't actually know what Will is either. So they think him and Lecter have the same level of empathy. They just use it differently. But because the thing with Hannibal Lecter, and this is what I like about the Ronnie Cox portrayal versus in this versus like the later post supervillain portrayal that Anthony Hopkins does, is Hannibal Lecter in this movie seems like I could imagine that guy's a psychiatrist. Like he's talking to people. He seems more personable, less
Yeah.
like I'm gonna distance you with my intellect, whereas this guy's more of like a well, let's talk about your problems. Even though he is insane at this point, you know he's a guy, but you're like, man, this guy's like kind of effervescent. He makes good arguments. He says pointed things. It's like this Lecter's a little more approachable than the Dracula Hopkins kind of played him as, but they were trying to do something a little different. I think both of them because they're both great,
Yeah, yeah.
but this guy seems like, oh, I could see how this guy get in your head real easy. And
Yeah.
it's and the byplay with him and Will Graham in the book is like Lecter's always like, we're the same thing, you know. Just let the killing hurt you. You need
Why
to
can't we be friends, Will?
not really friends, but it's like you need to embrace what you are because you need to stop because another thing with Will you learn in the book is he is so in tune with other people. He starts picking up their speech patterns. He starts acting like them. And he's not doing that on a conscious level. He is just getting so into the vibe of who people are. But he said one of the things that he said in the book was, I can't turn this off. That's why I can't do this work anymore.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's always in the back of his mind, like, am I just going to just start killing people myself? Am I going to become the monster that Lecter wants me to be? And that's not, it's sort of in the movie. In the book, it's a little more
That
powerful.
that gets way more explored in the television show, but
Oh, okay.
um
I've never seen it, by the way. So
it's excellent. So
okay,
at
I
least
need.
the first two seasons.
Yeah,
It's one of those. I think his name's Alex Kurtzman. He makes genius first seasons, and then he always gets fired off the show, and then the show dies as he leaves. So
you think people would notice that plan and pattern and quit firing him? But
I think he always gets fired because for some reason he negotiates a budget, goes over it, spends too long, and then doesn't stick to his schedule either. Show comes out, gets brilliant reviews, usually makes make like lots of people see it, and then they're like, "You're fired." So I don't know. I don't know if he's just like really abrasive in the background, or if he's just like, oh, who's the guy who did Rogue One?
oh, the guy who did Monsters,
Yeah, yeah.
British guy, can't think of his name.
Um,
It's one of those names, those British names.
damn, okay, I'll get it real quick. Gareth Edwards.
Okay, yeah.
Because like he always gets hit. Everything he does also gets messed with, and like, man, this guy must be an asshole. And then like you see him interviewed, and it's like, this guy seems like the nicest, most agreeable person in the world. Why don't you just let him be an artist? So,
It's
um,
like the one guy said about Hollywood, and he was a producer. He wasn't a director. He was a producer. He says, "Yeah, everyone's under the mistaken impression when you start on a project. It's like we're working together towards a common goal, right?" And then you realize, like, no, there's all kinds of agendas at work, and you're gonna hate this by the time it's done. You never want to work with any of these people again. And then they're like, "Let's do this. Let's do another one," and you're gonna foolishly continue to sign up until you just lose your mind in drugs or you have a nervous breakdown. One of the two things.
but I think it's Alex Kurtzman. He created like Dead Like Me, which is a really innovative dark show for Showtime. It lasted like a season and a half or something like that, and then became really big on DVD. Before that, like saved your shows. Like that was like a year before like Family Guy was saved by like reruns and DVD sales, and now it's just perpetually here forever until like them and The Simpsons will probably die at the same time or something like that.
Yeah, they're just gonna start like having. It'll be every Simpsons episode now is like in memory of, and it's like, oh man, you're gonna run out of people pretty soon.
Oh, they got. Oh man, who's the guy that does a poo? Um. Anyways,
Hank
they
Azaria?
yes, Hank Azaria. They brought him in to like try out some AI stuff. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh man.
Hank, we want you to try something for us. You seen that movie, The Congress? It's a mess, but
I
yeah.
mean, there's enough Simpsons material. You could probably just teach an AI. Here's how the voice sounds, and just type the dialogue in, and here you go. But,
There was someone this week um, in Arizona. It was a pre-sentencing. You know, you do the impact statement.
yeah.
This guy killed another guy. I don't know the details, but the family, he's found guilty. There's sentencing, but you get to come in and say, well, it's the usual thing, like you killed my brother, you murdered my father,
Oh,
that thing. They made an AI of the actual person that got killed based on things he would say and stuff, recordings they had, and he made an impact statement. And the judge was like, "Wow, this is really powerful." And I didn't watch the whole thing, but I heard it was kind of imperfect, like it
yeah,
would stutter and falter because we're just at the infancy of that whole thing.
yeah.
And the judge was like really impressed. He's like, "I do feel like I know this guy that got killed and all that." I'm not making a judgment on it, but it seems like, wow, you talk about a way to really move things around. It's like, no, this is the guy
Oh,
that's he's here to talk
I
to
was
you.
thinking of the evilest thing, like being that like we have our, you know, likeness and voice on the internet. Like, imagine if someone made like a video of us or a phone call to our parents, like where we say we're in trouble, we need money. It's like, oh well, all that money's gone.
Oh yeah,
Now we're gonna have to like condition mom and dad. It's like if I ever ask for help, don't believe
yeah.
it.
I don't need anything. I'm sure you could do that. Yeah, there's probably thousands of hours of us talking.
um, See, I came out August 15th, 1986. I don't like you said you saw us on cable, so you didn't see it in theaters at all.
I
Did,
saw the TV version.
did you happen upon it, or did you know it existed?
I happened upon it,
Okay,
and I knew the name Michael Mann,
yeah,
and I was like, oh, what's the? Because back then you could go to the TV Guide.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like the film by Michael Mann, that came out this year. Will Graham, FBI investigator, gives the brief synopsis.
yeah, yeah,
It was like cool. It's like, oh, it's the Miami Vice guy, and then it looked kind of like Miami Vice
yeah.
way, and it had that 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 techno tempo soundtrack. That but yeah, that's how I discovered this. And then I was like, I'm gonna, and it said based on the book Red Dragon, and as I immediately went to the library, like kids can't check that out. It's like, no, but I can sit down here and read. Oh yeah, okay.
I don't remember them ever restricting books. You could, I guess so. I
I
knew
think, I
that.
think we lived in Arkansas when
Oh,
this.
okay.
So yeah, this was
Well, I just remember I was a kid at the library. Like, definitely, it's like, yeah, they're not letting you check out R-rated movies, but you could check out any book you wanted.
yeah.
Because I remember we went there as a class for a Catholic school, and somebody found like a book on Vietnam, and they're like, they swear in this. It's awesome. um. So yeah, the director is Michael Mann, which is also works out. There's a podcast that basically did a sub podcast where they covered Michael Mann movies, and of course they called it Manhunter. So,
Okay.
cinematographer is Dante Spinati, who we've seen a bunch of his stuff. He does. Oh, no, I lost it all. He did a lot of Michael Mann movies.
Yeah, he
Yes.
did Last of the Mohicans. Um, he did Heat. I mean, he did.
So yeah, he also did Red Dragon.
Yeah, he also did Red Dragon with Ratner.
Yeah, Brett. Yeah,
X Men: The Last Stand.
which I think that's also Brett Ratner.
Yes, it
Brett
is.
Ratner, not a good director, but made people lots of money. So,
Oh yeah.
and then got canceled. So good for us. So,
What did Brett Ratner do? Was he being a sex pest?
yeah, basically, yeah. Like, if you're gonna have sex with somebody with the promise of giving them a role, you better give them the role. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were kind of. That's a door swinging both ways.
Like it's wrong all the way around, but at least follow through on your promises.
Yeah, it helps.
Oh, he shot L.A. Confidential.
That's a cool looking movie.
Um, Probably got to do that. Some. I remember when I saw it as a kid, was not impressed, and as I've gotten older, like I've been more in, oh, I can see what's good about this movie. I remember like the hype for that when it first came out being so big that I was disappointed in it. Do you have any quick snaps of L.A. Confidential, Nathan?
Um, I don't. I remember it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I remember liking it. Was that based on a book?
No, I think it was just. I think it was just a
I
straight
thought
up
that was a
screenplay.
James Elroy novel or something. He always did those hard boiled detective type
Yeah.
noir things. I don't know, but yeah, that was that is a good movie.
I just remember people hyped it up way too much, but it kind of made Russell Crowe a star. So
That's true.
if The Quick and the Dead didn't, or if Virtuosity didn't.
I remember
Nathan.
Crow was in it.
Yeah. Um,
Virtuosity. Yeah, that wasn't that a really bad movie with Russell Crowe in it.
yeah, and Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington. It's like, why is this so bad?
Okay, yeah, L.A. Confidential was based on a James Elroy novel. Is that who you
Oh,
said it was? So,
yes, yeah.
okay, all right. Written by Michael Mann. Based on a novel by Thomas Harris. It's called Red Dragon. Cast is William Peterson, Kim Greist, and Joan Allen, and probably a bunch of other people will bring up. So, yeah, because so also it's weird to me because I came through this movie backwards through the DVD boom. Is also like when uh, CSI came out, and it's like that's where I know William Peterson from. And then
Yeah.
he's like in this movie, and you go back, he's in like To Live and to Die in L.A., which is another like detective movie. So it's like, oh, this guy was kind of like he was kind of like making it happen. Then he just kind of disappeared, I think, and then he just appears in CSI, and it's like, good, I have a job for life now. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
think his movie career kind of fell off a little bit.
yeah, I don't know. It's hard to describe because he's not necessarily like the best actor, but there is kind of something about him. So,
There's a certain charisma there. I mean, he worked with Michael Mann like 3 times. So
oh
he did
yeah,
a part in Thief.
okay.
Was in Manhunter, and then what was the other? Oh wait, no, that wasn't a Michael Mann movie. Never mind.
Um, so yeah, I guess we'll just get into it. We got Act One. Well, even before we act, we get the Dino De Laurentiis logo, so we know we're in for a treat because Dino De Laurentiis is a crazy Italian man who, if not makes good movies, makes interesting, irresponsible movies. So,
He is, yeah, he is a frenetic guy throughout the '80s until like when did that stop being a going concern? Like the early '90s.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, like whenever you see his credits pop up in a movie, you know you're like, oh, we're gonna we're gonna get something interesting. So, and he would just buy rights to everything too. So he just like
Yeah,
you said, like with that Clarice show, it's like weirdly held up by the Laurentis estate or whatever. So, I think he has daughters. I don't know if they do anything with. I don't know if there's still a Dino De Laurentiis production company. I don't think there is, but
I think there's a De Laurentiis Communications
okay.
or something like that.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's why Spinati got the job here, but because he's an Italian guy. Because these Italian artists are fantastic. they
Yeah.
they make fantastic art. They make fantastic cars when they work. So,
Oh, their engineering is like it can be amazing
right.
sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I've worked with like machine tools, and these Italian guys come in, and it's like, yeah, this thing moves like liquid. It's like, how did you make something work like that? Because the German stuff, it's going to be good, probably better, more durable, but it's going to be all click and clack and clockwork. But some of the Italian stuff, it's like, it moves like molten metal. Like, how did you make it do that? You know, why would
Yeah.
you design gears to function that way and stuff? And it's like it's hypnotizing. It's like I'm gonna stick my hand in that because I'm so mesmerized by it. So,
Yeah, Italians have a way of making a form and function thing
mhm.
where it's like it's form over function, but the function is so like high at such a high level, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's science.
um let's see. We open on a car hood with some eerie synth music. We get the we have the boomerang antenna
Yeah,
on top of the van.
don't
uh,
see those anymore, unfortunately.
no. I only remember that being on I remember that being on limos, and that's in the Crocodile Dundee movie because he uses it like a boomerang. So that's the only thing I know of it. Which I thought that was just like an accoutrement you put on the car. I didn't know it was like an antenna till later on. Because that's what it was, right? It was an
Yeah,
antenna.
it was just basically an early cell phone antenna.
Oh, okay, all right. We get first person footage of someone going through a house at night with a flashlight. It's like VHS footage, I think. Because later on, it's like I think it's like you see the family films, but they aren't VHS. They're like Super 8 films because they had to be
Yeah.
processed or something. So,
Yes.
um,
Yeah, this is another interesting like travel through time because like none of this stuff would all be how they found this guy, what he was doing, his technique would all be wiped out in about 3 years after this movie coming out,
yeah,
and everyone had like a VHS recorder. But yeah, at this time it was still like Super 8 stuff that you had to have sent off and processed.
yeah.
Uh,
Did you ever get to mess with a Super 8 camera?
no, that was before even before my time. Well, before I was of the age and time. Um, and I was never really like super interested in stuff like that. I kind of was, but I
Oh
was more
man,
watching movies than making them. So
oh man. There's just like Ryan Coogler. He directed that new movie Sinners, and he did like the Creed movies and the Black
okay,
Panther movie. He has this like amazing, just genuinely unironic. I'm gonna teach you about film, and I don't expect you to know anything about film. And he goes through every piece of film throughout the ages and just explain like what's good about it and like how it works. And it's like
yeah,
it's amazing.
oh yeah,
Because I didn't know like how I knew like IMAX like film was like big, but I didn't realize it was basically there's like a I think it's a 60 millimeter format, and like that's big to shoot
yeah,
this way, but IMAX just like shoots it this way, so it just prints it on there horizontally rather than like crosswise.
okay.
So it's like one frame is taking up like three pieces of film. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know it was doing that.
That's why it's IMAX, just maximum for maximum format.
um, because they also did something like interesting for Sinners is that they basically shot it in IMAX and they had some special like process that it would work in every different theater type. So
Huh.
they shot the same movie, but depending on what theater you get to, it's a technically a different presentation of the movie
Huh.
because there's just more frame for every the bigger theater you go
Oh, okay.
to. um, let's see here. Yeah, we have a woman wakes up with a light shining on her, and then we get titles Manhunter, and then we get like credits on blue background. Which I don't know if there's a meaning to this, but it's just kind of interesting. This is kind of like sit down, get your popcorn ready. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I don't know. Anything anything special about blue credits? Well, I guess they just reveals that it's the sky, right? So I don't know. So also
Yeah.
there's a lot of blue stuff in this movie, anyways.
Yeah, this is like I said, this is my the reason we're talking about this movie, I think, for a second or third time is this is my official start of summer movie. Is Manhunter because it's hot, everyone's hot. There, it's in the summer, and it's like yeah, it's what I call the blue oblivion. There's a lot of that in this movie. It actually makes Florida look like that'd be a cool place to live. Look at that.
The camera pans down from the sky, or I guess tilts down, We have Jack, played by Dennis Farina, who's a constant regular of Michael Mann, who I
Yes.
believe also has a role in Red Dragon. Is he like
Does
the
he?
is he like the reporter in Red Dragon? I can't remember.
No, that's oh, what's his name? It's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, right. Okay. There are, I think it's like Donald Faison and somebody else are like in both movies.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Let me just look it up real quick. Dennis Farina. Dennis Farina, who was like a real cop
Yeah.
and then just became an actor because Michael Mann liked him. Was it? Yeah, because no, like yeah, because he had like a was he in Thief or was this like his first role?
No, he was in Thief. He played
Okay,
Clark,
okay,
and he was in something called. He was in a Chuck Norris movie called Code of Silence.
all right, okay.
Um, and then I'm trying to. Where did I know Dennis Farina from? Well, I knew him. He was in Miami Vice a few times, but he was also in what was that movie? Oh, Crime Story.
Okay.
Not a lot of people remember that one, but that was like a noir crime film that ran for. I think it ran for like 3 years.
Oh, it's Frankie Faison I'm thinking of. He's in both movies.
Oh, okay.
Plays Barney in Red Dragon, which I can't remember who Barney is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways,
Is that the security guard?
maybe I don't know. Let's see. And we get Will Graham, played by William Peterson. Jack is looking for help on this case, so yeah, I'm guessing Jack's FBI. So, um, which I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they ever like identify themselves as FBI, but this is FBI, right?
Yeah, no, it's FBI.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
see,
because Jack Crawford's the head of the what do they call that? Oh, uh,
mind hunters.
so, yeah. There's a special FBI group that goes after the serial killers, and the name escapes me. But yeah, that's
We learned that the killer's on a lunar cycle, so Jack only has like 3 weeks before the next killing, which is kind of an interesting time clock that doesn't really you don't really feel the pressure of it, um, especially as like the killer's like mo like changes for reasons that has nothing to do with what they do. It's just
yeah.
Jack slides over some photograph. It's of a family that was killed, which I guess is actually two families here, but I didn't realize that. So.
Yeah, there's two families. There's the oh, who are they? The Reeds and the Jacobys, I think.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, in a son, when we cut to Will's family walks along the beach. Then we cut to Will and his son are like building a fence for like turtle eggs or something, which I believe that's what's going on. So
Yes.
I don't know if that has a deeper meaning or if that's just the thing to go at the time. There's always conservation going on. So
Well, the thing with the sea turtles is the turtles lay the eggs on the ocean or on the beach,
yeah,
and then all the predators know that they're just waiting for those eggs to hatch.
yeah,
And like almost 90% of them get killed on the way to they be eaten by crabs. What are the other things like seagulls?
yeah.
I remember watching it as a kid, like because they just let it play out and filmed it, and it's like yeah, almost all of them get torn to shreds. So, but sea turtles almost went extinct
Yeah.
because of like dumb practices, like let's lay our eggs in a nest of predators and off to sea. And so then yeah, they're trying to protect them, which is kind of just like an overarching theme is like this is what Will does for the from the predators. So yeah, it's kind of
Okay, yeah, I guess it makes sense in there.
yeah.
Was that thinking from a book, or is this just like a Michael Mann add-on?
I think this was a Michael Mann add-on.
Okay.
Michael Mann add-on. If they were doing that in the book.
Okay. Molly talks with Jack. She doesn't want him getting back into like being over his head or like because we'll later see like what this does to him. And Molly selfishly even states that out loud. She selfishly wants him to stay home, but Will's like, well, people are gonna die, and I'm basically the only one who can stop them. So, um, a police car pulls up to the house. Oh no, we cut to a police car pulls up to a house, not their house. Will is driven here by a cop, which like yeah, the the signage on the car. I don't know. It seems super weird. Like I don't I don't know if they just had to like if this is imitating the police ca- cars of the area because I think this is like Atlanta or something,
Yeah, it's in Atlanta.
or if they just had to like or they just like whip something together that could pass as a cop car, but like they didn't want to get in trouble for looking like a cop car or whatever. I don't
Well, let me go to my because they use Caprices and Dodge Diplomats
know.
in this era of police. Yeah, it's just oh no, that was the Atlanta Police Department. The weird like almost uh, Dukes of Hazard letters on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was Atlanta PD's sigils in the 80s.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Will enters the house of the crime scene.
They
Uh,
did not have the Union, or they did not have the what's it called, the Confederate flag on the roof.
no.
Though. They didn't go that far with it. They
Well,
just
also it's like bright white, right?
yeah, it's weird. It's very it's probably made to stand out. Have you ever driven in Atlanta?
I've driven around Atlanta. It's terrible.
Yeah, so the police cars they're probably neon at this point. In Atlanta, if you break eye contact, you lose right away or lane choice or anything. People just slam into you. So.
or yeah, if yeah, or in a 6-lane freeway will stop all of a sudden. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's just
sudden without warning.
Yep,
Just,
it's just all 6 lanes. It's just all breaking.
it's fun when you stop like that and then you hear the semi truck air brake moan.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I had to stop quickly, and all of a sudden, psst, whoa! It's like, well, stops because uh, I don't want to be buried in this hellhole.
I don't think I've ever was taught this, but I picked up on it because it happens so often. But if you see like sudden brake changes, do you turn on
Yes.
your hazards just because you just don't want somebody slamming in the back of you? So
First thing I think about when I have to slam on my brakes is I look up at the mirror. And if I don't have time, I'm just hitting the blinkers. Like, well, see what happens.
okay.
Most cars have automatic braking systems now, so maybe we'll be okay. I don't know.
That light turned on for the first time the other day. The
Oh, did
one
it?
that shines into the dash, like
Yeah.
because I didn't know like what the hell was this? Is this like an infrared heater or something like that? And then, but it was weird because I've had like harder like things stop in front of me, but it was just like somebody made a sudden lane change and they had to get over to the exit and basically like, cross across 3 lanes of traffic, and then that thing, bop, 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 bop. It's like, oh wow, okay, it works.
It's making a calculation based on the pressure it senses on you that you are putting on the brakes because all it sees is obstruction. It's not seeing down the road.
Yeah,
So when someone whips in front of you, it's like suddenly there's an obstruction. Apply brakes forcefully, whereas you know those people are like they're exiting. I don't need to go full brakes.
yeah.
Well, that thing's not looking down the road. It's just seeing what's 10 feet in front of it. Because ours do that all the time too. We driving along and somebody will like be turning and it'll be like beep beep. You know, it's like okay, we know what we're doing here. Thank you, friend. Yeah.
Also, I learned from the Japanese they also use their hazard lights. If if you're doing a zipper merge and somebody lets you in, you just blink it once as like a thank you.
Oh yeah, you can do that, or you can do the headlight trick. That's what the truck drivers here do.
Oh, okay.
Because if a semi truck's going around you, and it's like slowly getting over. If you flash your lights on and off, then he'll get over all of a sudden, and then you'll see all hundreds of his lights flash on and off.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll do that for you too if you're getting in front of them.
Yeah.
But usually, like around here, we're driving so fast and it's on multi-lane freeways. It's like there's no courtesy.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I'm a car length ahead of you. Watch me change lanes. Hang on.
Well, I've also changed like I guess like how I thought because like if you come up to like it's like 2 lanes or like being because of construction it's going down to one.
Yeah.
And like I used to be like, well, I'm getting in the lane that's gonna like keep going forward, and I used to think it was like unfair when other people would like speed up and then like zipper in.
Yeah.
That's actually what you're supposed to do. You're actually supposed to fill all the space possible and then
Yes.
zipper merge. So,
Yep.
so now I don't care. I don't care if you think it's fair or not. Like, at least you're not making a 5 mile chain of cars, and you're getting everything, and that's just gonna make traffic move faster. If you fill all those gaps and zipper merge, it's gonna move faster than it would be, with some sort of fairness doctrine or whatever. So,
Yeah. I usually stay in lane and I'll let two people in, and
yeah,
then it's full throttle, baby.
yeah,
Good luck.
yeah. Let's see here. Say, Will grabs a tape recorder and a camera, which I'm not sure how high tech these are for the time. They probably are because it's Michael Mann, and Michael Mann loves his devices. So,
It's probably good stuff, good tech for the era.
um, yeah, I like the tape. Yeah, the tape recorder kind of has like this leather covering on it.
Yes, I remember those. They all did. The Olympus, the was it Maxell? There was a couple of them because they took those little bitty tapes, and they were like 30 minutes aside.
So.
Uh,
Yeah, I had multiple like cassette recorders, and I was like, what did I ever do with these? Why did I want these? Why did I acquire this? It's like,
a lot of that, I think Twin Peaks was kind of the peak cool of that.
yeah,
You spoke into your tape recorder.
yeah. I think it's supposed to be for like taking audio notes or something like
Yeah.
that. But like, and I did make audio stuff, but I would never listen back to it. It's almost like just doing the motions of it helped you like do it, but you're never going to go back and reference it. So
Well, for what he's doing, it was like perfect
yeah,
because it's observation and record.
yeah.
It's like you can take notes and you're going to do that too, but you're definitely going to listen to this stuff like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Um,
Now cops just do it with iPhones and stuff. It's really weird. They're going and they'll be talking, and it's all like in high definition, and they're using it like I assume maybe it's a department phone, a personal phone, but yeah, the kit you used to have to bring with you versus now. Now you pull something out of your pocket and hit record. It's like, yes, the head is missing from the body. Wow, I'm gonna do a panoramic shot of this whole thing.
Hey, Instagram followers, you ever seen a crime scene?
What's up, YouTube? Today, let's see what happens when you give someone an enema with nitric acid. And we have to come pick up the pieces. Yay! 10 million views. Like and subscribe.
um, smash that like button like this ex-wife smashed her husband's skull. um, but also, and this isn't like the first time it's been employed, but it's a good device for a movie to have them just give blatant exposition, but it be like endemic to the operation. Like that's what
Yeah,
somebody would do.
this is his homework. He's doing homework. This is
Yeah.
what his job is. It makes sense. And he's also explaining to the audience, like, what is he seeing?
Yeah.
It's like these are his insights.
Yeah, which like it's voiceover is often a crutch if it's not built in to the movie in the first place and put in afterwards to try to explain the audience, and almost always goes bad. So
Yeah. Some
uh,
people don't like it. I enjoy it, but I can see
well,
why.
you also have like the famous like example like it gets debated with the Blade Runner because
Yeah.
you don't mind the voiceover version, but you
No.
but you can
Well, I can
understand.
see why it's a crutch, but I
Yeah.
also it's like it's cool at the same time.
But
It also,
but you're also going to rewatch Blade Runner, so you're going to get more stuff every time. So
yeah, it also explained a very one-dimensional character.
yeah.
It's like what motivates this guy. It's just like let's put hard-boiled detective dialogue in, and to like a 13-year-old boy, like that's the coolest thing ever. Like that. You know, when you get to older, you're like, oh come on, nobody really thinks like this. Most people are like, did I masturbate this morning? Should I have eggs? You wouldn't want most people's internal monologue.
Yeah. So yeah, Will walks in. He walks in with a flashlight, and I was assuming he was doing this because the killer did it, but I think it's actually just happenstance or whatever.
Yeah.
Because when he gets into the bedroom, he just turns the lights on, which that's not what the killer did. So,
No.
well, also I don't know if he knows that that's how the killer entered the place with a flashlight. So,
It kind of reveals something about his character, though. It's like, well, yeah, he's getting into the mode too.
yeah.
of being this person. He has to embody these people to catch them, and he has to do the things they do to to the point that he can.
Um. So yeah, we a long way to the main bedroom. We see there's some blood stains, and it's like, well, that's not much. Then we get in the bedroom. He turns the lights on. It's just like '70s blood, bright red blood strewn all about in there. So it's like, oh man, something bad happened here.
And they do a good job because they actually ground it into the carpet. You can tell these are set in stains. Like this happened a while
Yeah.
ago, not too long ago, but enough to where it would smell like you can get the smell of that place visually.
Yeah.
It's a lot of white carpet, white walls, and red blood. And it's Atlanta, and it's the summertime, and that's
Yeah.
a slaughterhouse at this
Do
point.
you smell copper yet?
Yeah, no matter how high you got that air conditioner turned on.
Yeah, Will recounts how the killer got in the house, which he like had like a glass cutting tool and like broke his way in, and then he's kind of like I can't. Will has these weird moments. Is like, what did you see and stuff like that. Which it doesn't. I don't think it goes that far here. It gets more ridiculous later on in the movie, but
Yeah.
you understand like his desperation, so it's okay. But it is like a weird acting choice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe it's not an acting choice. Maybe it's just what's in the book. So it's also like the weird like. It's like, is that why you did it, you son of a bitch? He's just talking to himself. Or what's the other line? Where he's like, "It's just you and me, kiddo," or something like that.
Yeah. Is it just me and you, pal?
Yeah.
But he's looking at himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this guy's going crazy. Because then somebody came up to him like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "Coffee. I want coffee."
Oh yeah. Um. Yeah. He recounts how the people die, which I think Mrs. Jacoby, like, she woke up and saw him. He just shot her in the head, and then
Shot her in the abdomen.
oh, okay.
Shot her husband, I think, in the head.
Okay. But then there's like arterial spray all over the place. So I think there's got to be a knife involved too, or just shot him.
Yeah. No, wait. Yeah, I'm wrong. I think the husband got his throat slashed.
Yeah.
He took an abdominal wound.
Yeah, because also he says the husband fought back as he was going for the children's room. It's like, oh Jesus. So.
Oh yeah. That's why this movie works on a. It's like, yeah, you're just because it's not showing you this.
Yeah,
You're
it
just,
spared you that the
yeah.
scene of that, but it's still in your head. So.
Yeah, this is the first time I'd ever heard the term arterial spray.
Okay.
And then once you know what that is, it's like, oh God, because you realize, yeah, the blood's under pressure in your body.
Now this is where he asks himself, like, what did the killer do with them after they were dead? Which I'm not sure he goes into. We get later on, we kind of come back to the scene and we get added more details, because I think the mirrors pieces stuff gets revealed later on. I don't think it's revealed here. So Will goes to the bathroom and takes some pills. He hears an answering machine, but a message is not left, which I don't know if that's like Dollar Hide, like collecting like voice sample of like, yes, it's my one of my many souvenirs. Like, I'll always have the answering machine. So
Yeah, it's a cool scene because he's taking something called Bufferin, which was an old anti-headache medicine from that time.
okay.
And but it's jarring because you hear the woman's voice.
Yeah.
And he's just looking, or he's like looking in the mirror as this happens, and it's like, oh my God.
Will goes to the hotel and watches home videos. He recounts further details of the murders. Here he mentions the broken mirror pieces on the eyes. I'm not sure if he has like the visions of it yet. That might be later on.
I think that is late. It gets weirder as it goes on. It's basically supposed to show his psychological deconstruction.
Yeah.
As he becomes closer to being the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
Or Dollar Hide or whatever. I don't think we've heard the Tooth Fairy name yet.
No, that's why you just keep calling him the killer right now, because there's multiple revelations of the killer as you go on. So, Will gets overwhelmed and calls Molly, and so he connects with her and is like kind of comfort her and say what in some way, and then he says goodnight. And then Will goes back to work on the case. He's centering himself, you know. Yeah, this is where he says like, "What are you dreaming?" You know, which is again weird dialogue, but like that's how the killers think. So,
Well, they have to fit that into the movie because again, they can't do like a complete voiceover.
yeah.
A lot of this stuff is like in Will's head, he was thinking in the book, but here they have to say it out loud. But he's almost always alone.
Okay,
Which,
I'm okay. I'm guessing the book has tons of internal dialogue, so
yeah, yeah.
so you have to bring that out some way. So,
But it always happens when he's alone. It's later on when he starts to deconstruct where it's like he's talking to himself out loud, and other people are like, "What? You know, what are you doing?"
can I help you? Yes.
Well, okay, yeah.
um, and then he gets into the mind of the killer, and he determines that the killer took his gloves off to touch her eyes. Which I think is where he goes like, "Did you take your gloves off, you son of a bitch? There's talcum powder, like we found at the scene and stuff like that." Yeah, so, the stuff is kind of clunky, but I don't know, it still works.
Yeah,
So,
it's from another era. It's a book written in the '70s about the early
oh,
'80s.
really? Okay, I guess I didn't know when those books were written. So,
The Red Dragon published in '81, but it was set in like '79.
okay,
I think this is actually to the time, because the cars and stuff they had would be mid '80s. So, but yeah, it's still kind of relevant to what it was. But yeah, this was a fairly old book.
huh?
But
Okay,
by our standards today, I mean Thomas Harris is like 85 now. So
okay, yeah. I just didn't know like you know Silence of the Lambs was such a '90s thing that I assumed that they were written around that era, not a couple decades before. So.
let me see. I don't know when Silence of the Lambs was written. Go ahead.
Well, then like the other thing too was like with like the Game of Thrones, like when that first book came out, like the '80s or something like that, and
It came out the year after I graduated high school. I
oh
think it
really?
was
Okay,
4. So
oh,
yeah.
okay,
I remember when I read that because the first one that came out was just called Game of Thrones, and it kind of had what I would call quaint art for a fantasy book.
yeah.
So it's kind of getting out of fantasy at that time. Like I was exclusively moving into sci-fi, but it's like this looks interesting. And then I read the Game of Thrones book in 1994, and I was like, "What? How did they publish this? This is like crazy stuff. Like they're using the F word and they're actually doing it and they're killing the main characters. It's like this is nuts."
Did you know?
Silence of the Lambs was written in 1988,
Huh. Okay.
so 2 years after this movie came
Did you know that George R. R. Martin like wrote on the Beauty and the Beast TV show?
out. Yes, I did. Yes,
Okay.
I remember he did an interview where he was talking about that.
Okay. The Action Boys had one of their sub podcasts. They watch TV shows. They watched one of those, and they got into that. It's like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah,
That was one of those shows like I watched a bunch of because it was like in reruns all over the time. But and I knew like um what's her name? Was it played Sarah Connor.
oh yes, Sarah Connor.
Okay, Linda Hamilton. That's what I was guessing, but I was like, is that a politician or is that an actor? um, and of course, and Ron Perlman. So
Yes,
who had the face structure for it, so you really didn't have to do that much makeup on him.
he always kind of looked like a lion. So.
Yeah. Oh, there's just cats that look exactly like Ron Perlman. It's weird.
Oh yeah, they they'll have them memes about him,
Yeah.
like Ron Perlman's cat.
So I have that being the Act 1. We got Act 2. The team go over forensics for the case. The cops are calling the killer the Tooth Fairy, but this guy also like says like I don't want to hear or see that in any internal dialogue or anything like that. So, um, we get mention of a case with Lecter. Lecter curiously spelled Lecktor,
Yeah.
which I guess is different from the book.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Don't know why.
um,
because they don't really establish anything about who Hannibal Lecter is. I think until the third book,
Yeah,
like where he's from or whatever. Because it's like he's always played by a British guy.
yeah.
It's interesting. John Lithgow was also considered
Oh yeah. I mean, he
by
was.
Michael Mann for this,
I mean, he played a bunch of crazy people in the '80s. Well, he still plays crazy people.
and interestingly, William Friedkin.
So.
Yeah,
Okay,
but they decided not to.
that would be interesting. Um.
But
Yeah, we hear that.
Brian Cox was chosen based on the based on his vocal prowess.
Okay.
They really liked the way he talked because I think he's Scottish.
Yeah, yeah, I think.
So because I forget what else is he known for. He's known for a lot of things, but yeah,
Super Troopers. No.
that's it. Yeah, no, I thought what Brian Cox thing I liked is, but yeah,
um. Yeah, I mean, he's just in tons of things, and he's usually good in everything he does. But he's not. But he's not really like getting Oscar nods or stuff like that. He's just good at what he does.
yeah.
Um. Yeah. Yeah. That's probably what I must know him for. He's like. He does like McDonald's commercials.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. Like he's like. It's like. Get your coffee and biscuit today. Da 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 da. that's Brian Cox doing that shit. So.
Did not know that.
Yeah. I don't know if he's still doing that campaign or if they're still using it, but yeah, he was doing McDonald's commercials. So,
Yeah,
although it seems like every celebrity is doing commercials, like they're like hawking like casino games and stuff like that. It's like, are celebrities okay that they need an extra $1 million, or they just don't care anymore?
I
Like
just
they're tired of YouTubers making more money than them.
have agents that say, "Hey, you want $5 million?" And they're like, "Yes."
Yeah, but they used to be able to do that by like going and shooting a commercial in Japan and no one in America would ever see it. But now the embarrassing commercials are here to stay. So.
I think the most embarrassing commercials were the guys who like pumped like crypto
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and then like immediately after, like the market just cratered on that. It's like, huh, okay,
I don't know. There's still like 8 different stadiums that are like, named after cryptocurrencies. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they have to keep the name even if the company goes bankrupt or coinrupt or whatever you call
The thing I've heard about crypto that somebody explained to me that made sense, and I do not understand anything. So the thing I know, this is the one thing I know, is they actually started to function more like a commodity than a currency at some point.
it. Yeah,
It's kind of like it's like silver versus the dollar.
yeah,
It's like it's not really based on. It's based on like a certain form of scarcity, but it's not really based on any like performance that you can count on.
yeah.
Just like how little of it is there. Okay, well then it has a minimum statutory value, and we can move from there. But yeah, it's like it's weird. It's also a Ponzi scheme that functions as a Ponzi scheme and is advertised as a Ponzi scheme and behaves like a Ponzi scheme.
Yes, but if it's technical innovation, then you can hide that.
Oh no, it actually as the guy broke it down. It's like, you know what a Ponzi scheme is? It's like, hey, I have this thing. It's worth X amount of money. The more money you pump into it, the more it'll be worth. You've just described a Ponzi scheme. You've also described cryptocurrency. It's like, what?
Yeah.
But because enough people are involved in it and the value can fluctuate, it's not exact. Its worth is not zero.
Yeah, well, also they have the oh, what the hell is it called? Like the way you can mining bitcoins and how that contributes to the blockchain security, which that's really what they're selling as a technology. Like that's the actual product is the blockchain security, and then yes, everything else beyond that is a Ponzi scheme. So.
Yeah. But because they're saying it, they're describing the risk.
Yeah.
They're not saying, they've never ever once said this is a can't lose venture. They've never said that. So they're kind of like getting a pass. It's like, well, of course it exploded. It's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, okay, I don't understand it. I'm not a genius. I'm happy to lose my money in the stock market, and that's what I do.
But it's like internet bros turned into you know, um, land acquisition bros, and then that turned into crypto bros, and then that turned to AI bros. So it's all just a rotating scheme of nonsense.
And the next thing will be the human soul.
So.
The final form is reached.
um, so yeah, we got mentioned that Lecter cut will, which we don't like see. I don't think we see any scars or anything. We see.
Yeah, he does. We do see a one shirtless scene. He has a
Okay, yeah, I guess he is shirtless. Weirdly often in this movie. So,
And
uh,
Lecter went at him with a linoleum knife,
huh.
which is a particularly nasty looking hooked bladed knife. Which, if it got into your guts or whatever, yeah, that would do a
Yeah.
lot of damage because it's hooked like a bird's beak. And the reason it is, though, is if you ever cut linoleum, it's like it's real easy to guide because it's not unlike a razor. The strength of the blade is always in the cutting surface. So when you put a straight edge against it and you cut linoleum, you're like, anyone can do this. And then, of course, I screwed the rest of the shit up, but I did cut the linoleum straight with the knife.
So the only linoleum knife thing I know is in the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie when you have like the Let's Go to the Movies like cartoon thing. They have like the metal band that comes in and talks about like, I'm going to cut you with a linoleum knife, and it's like a singing bag of popcorn or something like that.
Oh, yeah, the linoleum knife is like the high Geddy Lee.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Don't
will cut you with.
linoleum.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really weird. Don't bring children to the theater. Seat outside. Lay it in the streets. Yeah, that's a Aqua Teen Force was some of the best stuff that ever happened.
Yeah.
And then it just overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, they like rebooted it twice, and I never saw any of the reboots. So,
I tried to. It's just none of the original magic was. It was hard to.
oh, it finally got canceled, so now it's officially done. So,
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if they like got out of the 15-minute thing, or they started going to like half hours or what. Because that was always the interesting thing about Adult Swim was the 15-minute, i.e., the 11-minute show with 4 minutes of commercials. um. They get a call. Jimmy, who's like their best like forensic guy.
Yeah.
There's made some to do about like, hey, we can get Frank over here. It's like Frank's good, but he's not Jimmy. It's like, he found some prints on the eyeballs and nails. Um, but they also make the point that like if this guy isn't in the Rolodex, they're not going to be able to tell who they are. Which that's a very important point because growing up as a kid, you always hear about like, like your fingerprints giving you away, and so you think like, oh no, like if I left my fingerprints at the scene, like, like I'm gonna get caught or something like for whatever's happening, and then you realize like, well then you have to be a criminal for them to really know who you are, or be a suspect, get your prints off a coffee cup, whatever. So,
Yeah, nowadays they get fingerprinted for everything. So everyone's fingerprints and DNA is in a database now.
also,
I want to find out who my ancestors are. The FBI. Oops.
um, well, and even though when we have like a seemingly like, the best forensics that there ever has been, it's still like not enough to like convict people. So it kind of doesn't.
Yeah. We don't have that 100% closure rate. Not in the world of what was that? The movie where you had to kill people in the past. Looper.
Oh, Looper, yeah.
Yeah, because no unsolved murders in the future. Well, we're not there yet.
Will gets harassed by a reporter. Will throws him on a car, and then he like explains that like this guy took pictures of him in the hospital after Lecter cut him.
It's a very young Stephen Lang.
Oh, what's he?
Hardly recognize him.
What's he do?
I'm trying to think what's Stephen Lang's like big stuff now. He was the evil colonel in Avatar.
Okay, that's exactly who I thought that was. Never mind. All right, I was like, I remember that name. Is he the evil guy from Avatar? Okay, that makes sense.
But he's also been in like all kinds of
So
Crazy.
yeah, he definitely like changes his physique. He's like seems very like Buster Poindexter in this, and it like became like I'm Grandpa General later on. So
Grandpa jacked.
yeah,
I'm your grandpa that can bench press 300 pounds because he's like 72 now. But he
yeah,
looked a
his yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's his acting choice, but yeah, I would not recognize him from this movie to what he currently does.
no. It's when you look it up, it's a little jarring. It's like I knew who he was. Like that's Stephen Lang wearing a wig. What is that? But that's just the 80s. And you also remember this movie's like 40 years ago, so
Yeah,
it would have been 32 or something. Yeah, it's yeah.
yeah. We cut to Will goes to see Hannibal Lecter, this played by Brian Cox, who's got like this, it's a white cell and he's got white like jumpsuit on, so it's very clinical here.
This is kind of a cool one of those. How nerdy do you want to go on how they shot the scene? They're sitting in it, number one. It's like the whitest, most clinical looking loony bin you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Loony bins don't look like this in real life, by the way. They
Oh
don't
yeah,
look.
when he runs out of the prison slash like art museum.
Yeah, yeah. But when they did this shot, Lecter's all in white, in a white cell, in a white room, in this white thing. But if you pay attention, the bars, depending on how they're shooting it, both of them look like they're behind bars,
Oh yeah,
which is like you don't think about it, but then later you do. It's like, well, they're
yeah.
both kind of trapped. And because it's this bright white, very 80s, like sterile room shooting they're doing, it's like once you're aware of that, you're very aware of it. Like, oh, okay. And I learned that from a book. That's not really an insight. But when you think about it, it's like, yeah, they're both. The reason they filmed it that way is because they're both trapped in a different kind of cage.
um, yeah, Lecter seems kind of jovial
Yeah.
for a serial killer. Uh,
Will, how are you?
apparently Lecter sends Will cards, so yeah, that's creepy. It's like, I tried to kill you. How are you doing?
That's why he does it because he knows it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah. Will needs some advice or insight on the case, which I don't know. I don't know. Do you think Will really needs the insight of Lecter, or is he trying to like offload what destroys him in these things? Is like trying getting too much into character and letting Lecter kind of like take a lead here.
Well, in the book, as the movie, Lecter is William's dark side,
Yeah,
and so what he's trying to do to me is getting in. I mean, in the movie, the book it's explicitly explained, but in the movie it also comes through. He's trying to get in contact with his dark side again.
yeah,
Because remember, they're both just super empaths at the end of the day. It's just Lecter does something very different with the information from Will, but that's how. Because like a real psychopath like that, because I think the author, when one of the few interviews he did, they asked him about who was your inspiration for Hannibal Lecter. He's like, well, I tried to imagine a doctor going evil, which would be like the worst kind of person to go evil,
yeah,
because that was the guy like that, like died, like what's his Sherlock Holmes died fighting an evil doctor, Doctor
yeah.
Moriarty, because that's the smartest person you would never want to be evil. But so when he was working in Mexico as a younger guy, there was a story of an American doctor who was down there doing missionary work and just like started killing people. And it was like, oh, that's crazy. But that was more like a psychopath. A psychopath could almost never be like a psychiatrist because they wouldn't be able to relate to anyone.
Yeah,
See, so that's why, like he says, he's like, because the author says there's never been someone like Hannibal Lecter. He's not a real person.
yeah,
You wouldn't want him to be.
yeah.
He would literally be an unstoppable killing machine, not because he's like the strongest guy in the room or even the smartest guy in the room, but because he can use people like that. Because it's like psychopaths don't relate to people. Dr. Lecter's really good at relating to people. So it was the whole thing was like, what's the worst kind of evil you could imagine? And he combined like Moriarty with the the evil psychiatrist. Like that would be the worst thing because all your patients would kill themselves. You talk them into it, they'd agree to it. They think they did it.
Yeah,
That's doctor does that to people. You find out later on. So.
and there's like I forget where I read it. Like it was like some kind of psychology book, I believe, or maybe I just picked this off the internet. It's like that's cool. I'm gonna believe it. But like being like diagnosed as a psychopath doesn't mean you're eventually going to kill somebody and you're a murderer. It just means you don't empathize with people.
Yeah.
And so like weirdly enough, psychopaths make great surgeons because they don't mind cutting people
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, when it comes to like one man tasks that require a great degree of skill and focus, but also human harm might be a side effect. These are guys are at the front of the line. No, that's not part of the equation. But I've also read like because there's actually a book called Ask a Psychopath where they actually interview people who've been diagnosed with this, but they are nonviolent.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, some people act like it's a superpower. It's like not being able to feel or have normal emotions when everyone else is happy is a nightmare and is very depressing. When everyone's crying and I'm like, what's wrong? It doesn't mean I'm the strongest guy in the room. It means I'm the worst guy in the room because I can't feel these feelings.
Yeah.
Because the one guy they were talking, he's a British guy. He's like, I wish I could like cry when my mom died and stuff, but I can't find it in me to do that. That's not a superpower. That's
Yeah.
terrible. Because he knows intellectually, it's like I don't belong. I don't fit in.
Yeah.
But in movies, they almost make it like the superpower psycho killer. It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's not really the case.
Psychopaths, autism, it's all superpowers.
No, it's terrible because you can never have fun.
um
I mean,
yeah.
can you imagine if you just had an open menu in front of you? Like, what am I doing tonight? Am I cleaning the carpets? Am I slaughtering somebody? I'm gonna feel the same.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Like, I don't want that.
um I feel yeah, they get up in this banter where it's like where like a lector kind of like says like, oh, but so by implications, Will, you think you're smarter than me? And Will's like, I'm not smarter than you. It's like, well, then how did you catch me? It's like, you had disadvantages. Like, what disadvantages? Like, you're insane. So it's just a really fun banter here. So
Yeah. He's also trying to disengage from the line of questioning desperately.
yeah,
It's like you're not smarter. I'm not smarter than you. You're at disadvantage. You're insane. It's Material Science Division. I'm sorry. That's what that's called.
oh,
I don't know if it's called that here.
what's that? What'd you say?
The FBI group that runs around and catches the crazies, the killers.
What are they called?
Behavioral Science.
Oh,
Division.
yes. Okay, yeah.
I knew it to me.
Lecter wants to look at the file. There's a bit of bargaining here, but then he ends up giving me the file anyway. Will calls the guard in to hand the files over, which that seems like real like procedural stuff. Like, yeah, that's probably how that goes. So. Or you ever watch somebody break down like a courtroom video and like you have those moments in the for like movie courtroom stuff and like everyone's just walking around and stuff and they're like and the lawyers are like you have to ask to enter that area to approach the bench, like all these things. You can't just like wander around and talk to people. Like that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So I imagine there's kind of the same thing here. So
This is credited as being one of the first movies that does do heavy procedural stuff.
okay.
Some of it's like almost seems like science fiction, but it's all actually based on real stuff because
Yeah.
Michael Mann deals with real stuff. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, how would this actually work if we did this? And he can talk to people. He always does.
We have time passes as Lecter reads over the files. This is a very shy boy, Will. So, you ever seen Blood in the Moonlight? It clears quite black. And then he talks about like needing privacy because like if one were something about being blood and nudity and like requiring privacy and stuff like that. So it makes a sort of sense, but
Yeah.
it's also creepy. So if you haven't heard dialogue like this before, so.
Well, it's said with this upbeat timbre.
Yeah.
And it's also a guy who looks like Dracula in a way. He's got like really black hair, big eyebrows, and red lips.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was done intentionally.
Yeah. Lecter starts giving Will anxiety by implying that they think alike and they're the same person or whatever. And then Will runs out of the prison/art museum where it's like this curved building with glass everywhere. It's like nowhere. that a prison facility would exist because they never built something like that for.
And all the guards he's running past are just looking at him strangely. The guards in a loony bin, like jumping on this guy, like, wait.
Will gets photographed while trying to calm down. We come back to Lecter's cell. Is given a phone and privacy, which is kind of weird. But
Now it's a phone with no dialer on it, though.
no, but he's able to hack it with like a foil wrapper from a gum wrapper. So very MacGyver here. So
Oh yeah.
which he basically just uses to like hang up the phone and like get to an operator on the outside, and then says like, "I have no use of my hands. Would you mind?" So there's like a great bit of conning going on here. Like this seems so like, yep, that's how you do this. This is how
Yeah.
what they call it, social engineering going on here. So,
Well, yeah, it's called playing on the social contract.
yeah,
It's like everyone's a people pleaser. You just got to unlock that.
um, but is able to get to a operator to who then dial into like a psychology department at some college, because he has a book of the author there, and that person knows Will, and so he gets like a secretary or like a subsecretary
Yes.
to go through like a Rolodex and find Will's like number and home address. So it's like, well, that's not gonna go well. So, then we got to Will's on an airplane working out the case some more, but this is just a commercial jet here. We get shots of Will putting a boat engine in because this is like a dream sequence or something. Because this is, I don't
It's not clear in the book. What he does now is he rebuilds diesel engines for boats in Florida.
oh, okay.
That's how he makes his living. That's how he affords. Because they give out the actual address of that home where his family lives.
Yeah.
And it's like that is a real place, and the house I think now is worth like $4.5 million.
Yeah.
Those houses would be $1 million homes even at that time.
I don't know. Michael Mann always puts like crazy expensive houses in all
Yeah,
his movies.
yeah.
So
Yeah, there's pictures of that house because it's like basically a private island off the coast of Florida.
oh, okay.
It's like all big money homes. So there's no way a guy on an FBI pension and his wife could afford that. But like I said, the movie and the book are a lot different because in the book he lives in like a normal house. It's just on the beach, which
Okay.
actually, there is no normal house on the beach. So
Will falls asleep with like his case files, and at first they're just like, "Oh, it's a picture of the family, like why they're alive," and then now we see it's a bunch of photos of them being slashed up, or at least the aftermath photos. And then there's like a girl next to him on the plane. She sees and starts screaming. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," as he wakes up.
yeah, the mom like puts paper over him, and
Yeah.
it's like stewardess, like get me away from this weird man. I've actually heard stories of this happening
Yeah.
with cops and stuff. Like they like have the files out somewhere where the public can see, and some kid will always wander in and like this. It's like I've heard these stories before
Huh.
because the cops will always. It'll always be like it's a book. Usually, it's in a book written by a cop about I worked on this famous case or I did this, and it'll always be some kid will find some evidence of what they're investigating. And that's the moment in the book when they realize, like, I got to get out of this line of work. I got to get back to my family. Normal people don't sit around and look at shit like this and like, what conclusions can I draw from this decapitated head and this Polaroid? Yeah, it's. I don't know if it's a trope or if it's real, but I've heard some version of this a lot in books I've read,
Huh.
where like the public comes into contact with their life and they are rightfully horrified.
Yeah.
They are horrified for being who they are, and it's like I should be with the normal people, not on this other world where
Yeah.
like, looking at mutilated bodies.
This is a person who's elected to. This
Yeah.
is your job. You get called to see these things every day. And they sound common enough, but they aren't really.
No, there's not very many people that can do this for any length of time.
Well, I just meant like that kind of like violent, like murders and stuff like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, that stuff's not going on nearly as
I
much.
mean, you hear about it a lot, and it seems like it's going on constantly, but it's not really. It's not really. It's not at that rate. So.
No, no, that would be like insane.
Because I
Just
was,
think,
well, I mean, like from watching TV shows, like I just assumed like, oh yeah, every town has a police department and a homicide division, and it's like, no, no, that's like big cities and stuff like that. Like, if you live in a small town, you don't have a homicide division. So.
well, I was talking about how when you hear stuff on the news, like, oh, a family got hacked up by a machete in Texas, and you're like, this country's out of its mind. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you live in Detroit, they live in Texas. How many people do you know between here and there? It's like, this isn't coming to your house
Yeah,
next. Like, this is pretty rare stuff.
yeah. You're next, America.
Yeah, it's not as normal as it seems. Now you have a higher chance of being like robbed or something, like give me your money, that kind of stuff, but not tortured to death in a sadistic way or like that's rare stuff.
um, we cut to Will hangs out in an area in the woods, like where the killer may have hid out, and observed the family. Because like all these like the families always kind of live in a like there's like a big yard, but then like woods, so that's like
Yeah.
up you can like hide yourself in. So that's kind of like how that works. Um,
A lot of subdivisions like that in the South.
yeah.
Big backyards that butt up to woods, no houses behind. Not like around here where they just build house upon house upon house behind, well, above. I've seen a lot of places down south. They're a little more spread out, and they do that a lot.
um, he finds a spot where the killer cut a branch down and whittled a cross in the branch. Um, yeah, houses with big yards is a part of the motive, or whatever. Mo, what is it? Motive or modus
Notice
operandi. The warden. We cut to the warden at the prison is informed of a note they found in Lecter's cell. It's a correspondence between Lecter and the Tooth Fairy. That's the killer. They fly a chopper out to analyze the note, and they try to analyze it and try to get it back in the cell because they have Lecter out of the cell, so he doesn't know what's going on. Presumably. Um, they try to find a print on the paper, but like it's like a too short amount of time. There's some infrared trickery that's kind of neat, depending on like the pin use, because there's like a bit of the paper that's like burnt, and so they can't see it, and they're able to like get like
Well, no, it's not burnt. See, Lecter is not allowed ballpoint pens.
yeah.
He is only allowed felt tip pens because you can't stab someone through the neck with a felt tip pen. So what he did was he marked out the section with felt tip that
Oh, okay.
he didn't want to see, and then he ripped it apart to make it seem different. But the lab analyst is like, oh yeah, felt tip ink is invisible to infrared, but ballpoint ink, some crazy like
Yeah.
I'm a genius. This is what I do. And you can clearly like make out kind of the letters that were in there.
Yeah.
It talks about how they would communicate with one another.
So yeah, they're communicating through personal ads, and is it the National Tattler or the Daily Tattler? I can't remember.
I thought it was the National Tablet.
Okay. I also wrote, "Hey, Chris Elliott. He's part of the
I like
forensics team.
Elliot's in the room.
Just doing totally straightforward, serious thing. Like, what the hell is he doing here?" So I think like I'm not sure if he was like an SNL at the time or something like that. Um, the
Uh,
what were you looking for?
I'm looking to see what that newspaper was called.
Oh yeah, he's the National Tattler, the Daily Tattler. I think it was the National Tattler.
Yeah,
Calling something a tattler is like,
it's like saying it's yellow journalism. It's like,
yep, National Tattler.
okay,
I was putting it more with D's, but here's two T's, Tattler.
yeah, tattle on.
A tattletale, which I guess I assume that had D's in it, but I guess I've never written out tattletale before. So.
Yeah, it's kind of an uncommon word.
So yeah, the team is trying to work out to see if they can like interfere with the communication and try to catch the Tooth Fairy. And then like they're trying to work something out, but then Will says he's going to act as bait. So They're gonna piss off the Tooth Fairy, and they'll try to come and kill Will. So that's what they're trying to do here.
Well, they also know that Lecter has sent a message to the personals, but they don't know. It's like, do we let Lecter's message run or not? Because they're up against a printing deadline.
Yeah.
So they have to sorry, they have to figure out like how are we going to how are we going to decipher this before do we let Lecter's message run, and they decide they run out of time because they get Lecter's response from the Tattler, but it's like it's basically it's a book code that they can't decipher.
Yeah, it's like it corresponds to like Bible passages, but like it's like that's not the that passage doesn't exist.
Yeah,
So
like the Book of Job doesn't have that many books in it,
yeah.
so it's what you call a book cipher, which I'm not going to try to explain to anyone here how it works because I'm not that kind of mind, but yeah, basically it's you have to know what book they both choose to unencrypt that message.
Yeah.
It was something very popular in the Second World War and stuff when you had to say things over a radio or send them out on the signal that could be heard by everyone.
Yeah.
Um, Now we just use like super encryption, and it's
Oh,
all
it's called a one-way key hash.
yeah.
That's how the internet works. We know we're talking with this key at this end and this key on this end, and then it's you, and then the in between nobody knows what the key is. Which I still don't really know how that works, but it works out somehow. So
Kind of like a one-time pad just with computers.
yeah, and decrypt it, but like it's kind of a moving target, and it's like almost like completely useless, until we get quantum computing up and running.
Yeah.
Then we'll all be in danger. Oh, we're already in the danger anyway, so it doesn't
Or we're not.
matter.
We're in danger of investment fraud now, but it could
Yeah.
be.
Um. Yeah, but somehow it's our fault if it's the business people that if they create a business apocalypse. But if criminals do it, it's our fault. Actually, it's always our fault.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna pay no matter who does it.
Yeah.
We could say aliens did it, and it's still like, well, the taxpayers got to bail them out. Too big to fail.
Will gives an interview to the National Tattler to piss off with the guy he hates, to piss off the Tooth Fairy. They get a clue of a Chinese character that means red dragon, which I only know is from the movie. In the movie, the red dragon's a very specific painting, which I don't know if it's real or not.
No, it's real.
Okay,
Yeah, those are real paintings.
Okay.
It's basically I forget what those. It's a lot of heaven and hell stuff and the power of God type stuff. They were printed in
Is
those.
it like reminiscent of that? Was it Saturn eating his son kind of thing?
Yes, that kind of weird stuff. The red dragon and the woman in light or whatever is very overtly sexual.
Okay.
If you look at it, because of course I looked at it and it's like, oh, this is kind of weird, and it's like, oh yeah, this is like, oh, the dragon's tail is clearly a penis. It's wrapping around the woman's leg. It's like, but they had to, back then they had to be subtle about it.
Yeah.
And it's also a watercolor, so it's seldom displayed in public because it will fade very quickly in the sun. So I know that much about it, but I'm not a fine art guy. So.
Oh man, I think I've explained this before. Now I'm forgetting what. Have you ever heard the term pentiment? I think I've explained this before.
Go ahead, try again.
So you had these works of arts that were created, oftentimes commissioned by the church, and then the church would kind of change their things, like, hey, we don't like that, like there's nudity in it and stuff like that, and so they would paint over top of it, censor it. And then later on, artists would go back and discover, like, hey, this is painted on top of, and then they kind of like reveal it underneath. And so, like, basically the cover up is called, I think the cover up is called pentiment, or if it, I can't remember if it's the uncovering or the cover up that's called pentiment. But there is a there's a video game called Pentiment, and it's about that whole concept. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, let me see if Pentiment has a definition that is easily grasped. Pentiment definition. No, I'm not going for the AI. Pentimento is not. Wait, is that the presence of emergent or earlier image forms or strokes that have been changed and painted over? So yeah, that's it. Pentiment. But it's just kind of this interesting kind of mystery of like, people are, you have all these works of art and they have these special people that are trying to preserve the art, and then in the middle of preserving it there's like, hey, there's something underneath. Like, do we preserve the censorship or do we uncover the art below? um Will gets prepped for possibly being attacked by the Tooth Fairy. Here's we get the mention of the Glazer safety rounds. Like, they're like Teflon rounds. You had these, right? Or something like it?
Well, I had let me get my thing up here.
Or yeah, that thing is like, that's almost like a white cap, and it's like it's supposed to like not go through wood, but it's supposed to explode in somebody.
Yeah, that's yeah, those are the like the Glazer safety slugs.
Yeah.
Like I had those. Those were the Corban ones. They were later known as the Powerball. They still make them. These were a product more of the 80s, and these were like these had the blue cap, but they also they had like liquid Teflon and like mini bird shot behind them.
Yeah.
And so that was supposed to do two things. Was it was supposed to when it impacted the target, it would like just vaporize and throw bird shot,
Yeah.
all throughout the body, creating this massive wound cavity. And then, but if it hit drywall or 2x4s or something, yeah, it would just fold up on itself.
Yeah.
It wouldn't kill someone in the room behind the person.
Yeah.
It's kind of a disputed concept now. They still make power balls, but that's owned by a different company. They're not called Glazer anymore. They're called Corban.
Oh, okay.
They're
Huh.
called safety slugs or Powerball, but they make very limited runs of them because really what ruined this is like second, third, and fourth generation 9mm hollow points. Like
Yeah.
it kind of like defeated the like you don't need this elaborate secondary. You just need to design a frangible round that will splatter when it hits bone or wood or drywall. Like that's the point of it is not to like shoot someone and kill someone, in the 3 hotel rooms down,
Yeah.
and most modern like law enforcement grade hollow points will do that. They also have things like the spear gold dot and all those, which are real
Oh, yeah, yeah.
stoppers, and it's like, yeah, that'll do what this
They do
stuff.
crazy things when they hit
Yeah,
gel or body or whatever.
yeah. So you'll have like an energy deposit from, like that's a 9mm, but it makes like this almost 44 magnum hole. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's how it's designed. It's depositing all its energy.
Well, he has a, yeah, yeah, because it's like, I can't remember what they call that. It's like hydrogenization or something like that. Yeah, yeah, where like the wound opens up, and then when it collapses, there's almost like a miniature explosion inside the cavity wound, which creates even more damage. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's nasty stuff. It
it's
works.
it's kind of like, well, yeah, and the M16 has something similar. That was kind of the magic of his round. It's like it's very accurate, but small and won't go through, concrete like an AK-47 was, but it will create like a very devastating wound cavity, and it's much lighter to carry for your soldiers. So
Well, like I said, if you read the history of it, it was like, what's the best way to, the M14's like, that's a big old powerful heart stopping round. It's like, yeah, that just creates a corpse. The M16, you shatter the pelvic girdle, shatter the collarbone. You've created a guy someone else has to now carry off the field.
yeah.
So you've taken two people out of action. I mean, that was kind of the 50s, 60s logic of it. I don't know. It's.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, he's using a Bulldog 44,
Okay.
which is also called a 44 Special, which is a sub-magnum 44,
Oh, okay.
which follows the same belief pattern of like, oh, it's a big, slow-moving bullet; it'll do a lot of damage, and it's like nobody uses 44 Special anymore. All this is all like old tech.
Yeah.
Seemed innovative at the time because 9mm just because hardpoint 9mm, yeah, they just fly through people at twice the speed of sound. It's like they're not doing any damage. I mean, they are if they hit the heart or the spine or something, but Yeah, you can shoot by 8 times with them and
Now,
just
what
bust.
about 10 millimeter, Nathan? What if we make it shoot go twice as fast, but like, or just the same speed as 9 millimeter, but the size of a 45? So,
Well, that they never used them here. They tried. The
yeah,
FBI tried to make it a standard sidearm, but then they had Smith and Wesson design it, and it created all kinds of problems
yeah.
because of how because of the
Well,
bullet.
yeah, like 40 Smith and Wesson is weirdly on its way out, and 10 millimeters has made a comeback in a weird way. So, because it
Well,
was
10
pretty much
millimeters
dead.
made a comeback because they're using Glock design 10 millimeters.
Yeah,
So they tried to make 10 millimeters a standard FBI thing, I believe, in the 80s, early 90s,
yeah, but they couldn't.
because it was made how the gun was made. It was like female FBI agents could not handle it because their hands were
Yeah,
just not large enough. And it had a very high axis and it created massive muzzle flip. So, like, you better get them with that first shot because you're falling like way over here. But then, yeah, they started using properly engineered 10 millimeter. Well, you have one of these things. It's not hard to hit a target with that, even though it's like a miniature
well, the
10 millimeter.
first round it's not hard.
Yeah. I mean, once your
But
hand,
it requires. I mean, every weapon requires training. So,
yeah,
because like I think there's some French. Is it the police or some special forces? Like that's all they have. Some
French National Police, the gendarme, that's
yeah.
what they use, the Glock 10 millimeter, because
Oh.
they come up against some really bad cases.
But also they made the switch over because you have like these submachine guns, or I guess sub guns, really not really
Yeah.
machine guns. Um, that like like they'll be chambered for 45, and it's like just make it 10 millimeters. So now you have a sub gun that does that you can control it. It has the speed of 9 millimeter and the stopping power of 45. It's like there you go. So I think that's what a lot of that has kind of carried that. Um, why the 10 millimeter has a weird comeback because of that. So I mean, even had like Caltech, their sub 2000 gun, they made it chambered in 10 millimeter now. So
Okay.
um, so then let's see here. Yeah, the Glazer safety round. Will walks out in the open at night while the police like hide behind like pillars and stuff like that. So this feels like this kind of comes out of nowhere. We know this is like a plant for trying to pull out the tooth fairy, and then Will tackles a jogger, and the guy kind of like funnily pulls out his wallet. It's like, here, just take it, man. And it's a black guy, and then they get surrounded by cops with guns, and Will just walks. Well, Will keeps the cops from shooting the guy, and then just walks off. And the guy's like, hey, man, that guy tried to steal my wallet. What are you doing? So
But this jogger was dressed like a character from Assassin's Creed for
yeah.
some reason before that was a known thing. But yeah, so the jogger wasn't like helping because of how he was dressed
Yeah, it's
either.
the most suspicious jogger in the world. Like let's jog close to somebody in the middle of the night.
With gloves on
Yeah.
and a hood that completely, like, you don't know if it's a man or woman.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
And remember reach in your pocket suspiciously. So um uh let me cut to Freddy. He's the journalist that Will hates. He's going to his car, and the Tooth Fairy drugs him at his car. Where we get kind of this, gnarly scene where it's like they cut to the feet, and you see that like a Dollar High, we'll find out eventually is his name, is like just holding him up, like his whole body weight, like in the air. So,
Yeah.
um, then we cut to the Tooth Fairy wakes up Jimmy. Freddy is tied to a wheelchair with a maxi pad over his eyes. So this is pretty weird. This is the Tooth Fairy, or Francis Dollarhide, played by Tom Noonan, who like kind of always plays weird creeps. He's great at it. So,
Yeah.
and he's done like really good just normal roles too, but they never come straight to my mind. But
Well, let's see. They had a description from a book. It's like they wanted now. There's a few differences from Dollar Hide in the book and Dollar Hide in the movie, but I can tell why it was done. Dollar Hide in the book had a cleft palate,
yeah,
an incredibly bad one that went like through his nose and into his mouth, like to where his entire upper palate of his mouth was open as a kid. They go into a lot of detail they don't go into with this, but he did get the proper surgery to fix it.
Yeah.
And he's described as looking very Scandinavian and having a full head of blonde hair and being 6'7". And he had the ability to like do like standing like weightlifting of 300. So he was it was like if Arnold Schwarzenegger was the bad guy.
Yeah.
So they got, and Tom Noonan, he's probably a really strong guy too, but in the book, because of all the evil inner voices that drive Dollarhide, it's like, yeah, just obsessively pump weights constantly. And so, yeah, you wouldn't want to fight this guy at all because it's not like he's a good fighter, but he can rip his dashboard out of his car with just a hand. Like, yeah, that's probably not a guy to mess with.
um. Well, and they have like that real guy in the Mindhunters TV show. Like that guy's like 6'7" and
Yeah.
it's like, he's weirdly gentle but incredibly intimidating because he can just rip your head off at any time he wants.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of more like an ape than a person, but yeah. Yeah.
And he won't feel bad about it.
No.
Well, also, yeah, we've seen Tom Noonan a bunch of times in the movies we've done because he's the guy that has the plan in Heat, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He was like he was in Last Action Hero. He was like the axe murderer in like the movie within a movie.
Yep.
On a previous incarnation of this show, he was like in one episode as a serial killer kind of like assassin guy who like melted people with chemicals in the Blacklist.
Yep.
So yeah, we've seen him a lot on this show. So interesting character actor. So also weirdly here, like we first see him, he's got like pantyhose over like half of his head. So it's not even fully pulled over. Because that was also I don't know when it became a thing, but it became a thing in movies where it's like people hide their identity by putting pantyhose over their heads. So.
Yeah.
He shows Freddy a slideshow. Well, also there's he pulls the maxi pad off his face and he's like, "I don't want to see you, man. I don't want to know anything. I just want out of here." So it's very like recognizable performance of like, "Oh yeah, if you know anything, you're dead, but like you're dead anyway, so it doesn't matter." So, but yeah, he shows Freddy a slideshow and like tries to explain his awakening, quote unquote. Then we see some of the Red Dragon art. And then Freddy is forced to like read a propaganda note, which that's also just the nail in the coffin for him. So
one thing I like about this scene is he does show the slides from the Leeds and Jacoby house, but you only see the people before.
Yeah.
Then they cut back to Dollarhide and Lowndes, but just to see Lowndes' reaction to when he clicks to the next thing. It's like, see them, they've changed, see what they've become. And
oh yeah.
Lowndes is like, oh my God, come on, man. I don't want whatever the hell's going on here. I don't want to be a part of it.
And then the Tooth Fairy puts it. Does he put in like false teeth?
Yes.
It's like he's using that to like throw off the police and stuff or something.
He has a couple sets of teeth. I don't think you find out in the movie, but in the book, it's his grandmother's false teeth that he had remade.
Okay.
To fit his to fit his upper, because when he had to have his palate redone, he lost all his teeth.
Oh, okay.
But they don't explain any of that. Just for some reason, he has fake teeth. But yeah, the teeth that his grandmother had were made by some Swiss doctor in the 30s, and to match the shape of her head, and the teeth were like a nightmare stuff.
Okay.
So for some reason, she looked that way.
Which also he's mentioned like he's like the Tooth Fairy is mad that because the article they put out is like insinuating that the Tooth Fairy is gay, which he's incensed by, but then puts his false teeth in and kisses Freddy. It's like, well, what's going on here?
Actually, he rips his lips off.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's why he's screaming, but they don't make that too explicit here. I think they do in Red.
Well, he does say like, "How about a kiss?" But I'm guessing that's if he's going to bite his lips off, then it's like that's what he means by kiss is a different thing. So.
Well, he's basically ripping his lips off so he can't tell lies about him anymore. Because that's what the dragon told him to do. But you're not getting that in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. We're also like halfway through, like an hour into the movie, and this is the first time we see the killer. So, which I don't know, like a lot of movies you don't see the killer till like the end. So it's at the
Well, a lot of times the killer is the least interesting thing in the movie too, because
yeah.
it's kind of a one-dimensional. I live to kill. It's like, yay, okay, why are you doing this? This is crazy. Stop! Don't. Okay, I'm going to shoot you.
Let me randomly cut to a guard hears a squeaky sound, and then
One of the best shots in cinema history. I love this scene because it is so weird, scary, and effective at the same time.
yeah,
They did it almost a little better in Red Dragon
yeah,
because here they did it down a ramp of a like a car park.
yeah.
But the best part of this is the guard's reaction. Like, yeah, absolutely, man. Doubt.
Yeah, because you see like because like the parking ramp going down is almost like curved, and you just see like this glow like coming towards the curve of the wall, but you don't know what it is yet. And we just had the first person of like, or we see a close up of the guard, and then he just starts screaming and running away, and then we cut to just like the fully on engulfed body of Freddy like flies down the parking ramp, and then it's kind of like launched to the camera, and it's almost like liquid and
Yeah.
fire. And it's like very unsettling. Like, oh, he's like
He just
bleeding and
straight
fire.
into the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the best, probably top 10 scenes in 80s cinema.
yeah, it's
Like I
like
said, Red Dragon,
it's
they did it a little more forcefully because the guy was moving and struggling and he was rolling down a street.
yeah.
This one, I think, was more effective because, like, what the hell could that be?
Well, it's also like the weird dichotomy of like this is frightening and kind of hilarious at the same
Yeah,
time.
it's like this card is completely overacting. You see what's going on. It's like, no, he isn't. Actually, about the right tone you'd want to hit.
We cut to Will's at the hospital, so apparently Freddy like lived for moments beyond this. So
Book he lived a lot longer, but it was horrible.
okay.
It's not good to be burned alive, kids. Don't do it.
He gets word that Lecter gave Dollarhide his home address, which he gets worried. But then we cut to the kids wake up. The son wakes up Molly. He heard noises. Molly walks quietly through the house, and you see shadows kind of like climb in through the window from outside. But then like she opens up the door, and Jack has placed like a surrounded the place with cops. So like it's not Dollarhide coming for her. So
Yeah.
cut to his morning. Will and his family are brought to a safe house, which like Will's all distraught about this, and then Molly's like, "It's fine, it's fine," which it isn't, but um, uh, then we cut to like Will has this weird kind of like grown up talk with his kid at the grocery store.
Yeah.
It was like what happened to you? It's like, well, Lecter hurt me really bad, and then after that, I had to go to a psychiatrist. I have to go to psychiatry.
Psychiatric.
Um, what do you call that?
The psych ward of a hospital is what he called it.
Yeah, yeah,
Because he said he wasn't in like where Lexter's in, where it's a full. Well, he was
yeah,
making a distinction. It's like, no, I went to a hospital that had a psychiatric ward in it.
yeah.
He didn't go to like where Lecter is, because I'm not like Lecter, no matter what you think. Is that kind of that monologue with him?
Yeah, this is where like he tells his son like what Lecter did, where he's like he killed his students, in bad ways. And, like he's like how he's like in bad ways.
The worst things you could imagine.
And then like, and he said like I think I like how did he catch him? He said he saw like it was a book of like World War I like wounds or something like that. And then he went to go like call the police, and then Lecter like was catching on that that Will was catching on, and went and stabbed him while he's on the phone. So, um, um, and then the kid just kind of like breaks the conversation. He's like, "You like coffee?" So, it's kind of interesting to see all this.
Dad, do you like Folgers?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this whole scene almost seems like ad placement and like the worst conversation with your child you could have. So it's like there's tricks in the background and Total and Fiber One and what was one of the coffees like JFG or something like that? I have no idea what the hell that was.
It's like Sanka, Folger. Yeah, the coffee in that time era was a singularly awful thing.
Yeah.
We do now is amazing, but what they did back then was like, yeah, you just buy it ground up and just drink it. It's like, are you freezing it? Are you grinding the beans? No, who does that?
but yeah, Folgers was like some sort of revelation, and everybody's like, "That's terrible coffee," but I guess for the time, it's still good or the best you can get for what you can get.
It
So.
depends on what people were grinding their own beans back then, but yeah, it just depended. I don't think I've ever really used pre-ground coffee a lot because I just knew it's like that's not what you
Yeah,
just like getting pre-consumed, grapes or something. Like you don't want it that way.
but I don't know coffee, so like Folgers the biggest name in coffee as far as I know. It's like Folgers and Starbucks; they might as well be the same thing. So
Yeah, it's uh, what do I like medium roast whole bean coffee. Sometimes I like it flavored. Usually I don't like it flavored. If it is flavored, I like darker or earthier flavors. But I really like coffee that's like it's not so dark because it depends on how you roast the bean. There's a lot to it. I don't do a
yeah,
dark roast because then I'm putting like creamer and stuff in it, and then I'm like, well, I'm just might as well drink a pop.
yeah,
Something that's like I can grind the beans up, grind them kind of coarse, have a strong cup of coffee, but not that bitter aftertaste. That's like the
yeah.
so I'm a medium roast, grind your own guy, and sometimes I'll use flavorings and stuff. Sometimes I won't.
I've only ever done cold brew
Yeah.
because it's like you get more caffeine, but you get less like acid and stuff like
Yes.
that. So
Yeah. If you're really backed up and you haven't gone to the bathroom for 3 days, like cold brew is your jam.
um, Molly talks with Will about how the investigation is going, which he's like not well. Like they basically giving up and are waiting for the next crime scene to happen. So
Yeah, they even talk about we got a Learjet standing by. We can be anywhere in the country in an hour and 12 minutes. We can be fresh on the scene.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, you're talking about like another dead family,
yeah.
like fresh on the scene. And they're all aware of it, but they're like, yeah, we're not getting anywhere.
We see Dollarhide is at work. He's like at it's like a film processing facility. There's some problem with film processing. This lady, like eccentric lady, comes up to him, is like, Reba found an aberration or whatever.
The gamma was too high in the infrared. She fixed it. It's basically gobbledygook.
um,
Now,
but
this
the
is where this film hits the gas compared to the book because they are compressing the relationship between Dollarhide and Reba is a lot more. It makes more sense in the book.
oh, okay,
In the movie, they just have to like, we got to cram this in 10 minutes.
yeah, we've just introduced the character,
Yeah,
so
yeah. This is where it kind of the movie really it's gonna. This movie really hits the gas from this point on. There's some cool scenes though.
um, but yeah, the presumption here is that like this is Dollarhide's film, so it's like, oh, people are gonna know I'm killing somebody because she's blind, she doesn't put any of this together. So
No, that's not what's going on.
oh, it isn't okay.
No, no.
Okay, so she's just developing some random film, so it's not even
She is an infrared specialist.
yeah.
An infrared, and the reason because it comes in like, why do we have a blind girl working at a film processing thing? And like she explains, it's like, well, we're a big government contractor, so we have to hire disabled people, minorities, and stuff like that. So that's why I'm here. She does something with the chemical balance and the temperature of infrared film. The
Okay.
reason Dollarhide's interested in her is because he wants to shoot these killings now in infrared
Okay.
but you have to shoot an infrared film, which means you have to like put it in ice and keep it cold until you use it. And so he's like developing this relationship with her because he wants to better understand infrared film.
Oh, okay.
So that's what, because she's just like a chemical specialist of some kind.
Yeah.
Because it's always like a lot of people have said, "Why was a blind girl working at the film development place?" It's like, no, no. If you pay attention to the movie, is she's working with infrared like chemical processing. She's not like processing the images.
Yeah.
But Dollarhide is also like the manager of this entire facility. So that's why that woman was talking to him about that.
Okay. Well, he comes into the room with a weird like sense of like urgency that I wasn't
Yeah.
aware of why it was going on. So I just assumed it meant like he was going to be caught because of something that she did, but that's not the
No,
case.
his fantasy life and his real life are starting to blur because even though the movie doesn't just have time to make it clear, he already has feelings for this Reba person
Okay.
because he can't see him to be intimidated by him. She can just hear his voice, and she interprets that as like he's actually a gentle man, a good
Yeah.
man who speaks, because she doesn't have the cues of like the visual of like I can't tell if he's glaring at me. I just hear his voice and it sounds interesting, you know. And in the
Uh,
book, he's less of a creep than he is in the movie.
oh,
So
okay.
some women find him like mysterious and interesting.
And Reba is played by Joan Allen,
Yes.
who you know from a bunch of things, but I'd like for some reason nothing immediately's come to mind. The top credits she is known for is like Room, The Crucible, Death Race, the 2008 one with Jason Statham, and Nixon. I feel like Joan Allen has more famous roles than that, but you know Joan Allen from stuff. So
Yeah. I
um,
mean, I knew who
oh
she
yeah,
was.
she's in the Bourne franchise. She's like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pam Lindy. Yeah, yeah.
She does all kinds of things. She's in Face Off. I think she's the doctor that does the face
Oh
transfer
right, yeah,
off. So yeah, she's done a lot of shit.
yeah. So yeah, she's weirdly interested in Dollarhide, but they also kind of make her like kind of like promiscuous, I guess is the wrong. Blind lady's got to get laid too, but but also he interprets that like overly, so maybe that's a misdirect on the film's part. It's more intentional later on, but there's another guy that comes in and is like, "Hey Reba, can I take you home?" And the Dollarhide's like, "Oh, I could take you home." So it's because he senses competition and gets weird about it. So um,
In the book, it's a lot. She's a much more sympathetic,
okay,
understandable character because it doesn't all happen in one night like they
yeah,
hear. It happens over the course of like a month,
yeah.
and she actually gains more insight into him than. But again, it works in the movie, but got to remember my mind is colored by I watched a censored version of this movie and then read the book, and then I just kind of in my mind it's like, well, all this stuff was in the movie, but they censored it, and then it's like, no, it wasn't, but now I have this dissonance in my head where it's like, yeah, that's why they're acting this way.
um, but yeah, through like just kind of a conversation about a car ride, they basically end up on a date with each other. He takes her to a veterinary office where they have like a sedated tiger, and then she's like feeling out the tiger and its teeth, and then she puts its head on its chest and listens to its heartbeat,
Yep.
which she thinks is awesome. So yeah,
It would actually be awesome even if you could see to do that.
yeah,
But now the reason this happens is it's one line in the movie where he says, because he's talking to her about infrared, and she's like, "Oh, what do you want to shoot?" And he goes, "Animals at night."
yeah,
And so to make up this cover story, this is why he has all these connections at the zoo.
huh,
The zoo wants him to shoot an infrared at night so they can see what the animals are doing,
yeah.
and so that's why he has these connections. Again, it's not explained at all in the movie. It makes a lot more sense in the book.
um, weirdly, they shoot a lot of things in infrared now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's they'll have a dual camera setup where you have like your main camera, and then you have an infrared camera for special effects.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because it'll basically kind of record almost like a black and white image that you can
Yes,
easier separate that out and do special effects to it and put it back in. So, um,
that's infrared digital though, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. I guess it wouldn't be. Yeah, they're not developing it and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things that are technically infrared cam. Like do you remember the Wii?
Yes.
The Wiimotes, like that's infrared. That's an infrared camera.
I mean, every remote control you have is an infrared device of
Yeah,
some.
yeah. So
I think it'd be cooler if you could see the beam.
I can probably get some special glasses, or just record it through a special camera.
Yeah.
And then what are you doing then? I remember it was a fun thing like when the Wii came out. Is that so? There's basically this. There's there's the bar that the sensor that the Wii remote has an infrared camera, and then basically the sensor basically shoots out two infrared beams that it can record and to find out its place in space, essentially. And but you could, but if that broke or you didn't have it, you could set up two candles and set them apart, and then it would do the exact same thing. So,
Well, that's cool.
because it's just sensing heat, so or infrared. So, we cut to Will goes to evidence and is like focusing on the symbology of the mirrors. I think this is where we see like the kind of like almost dream sequence with like the lady has like the mirror in her mouth and eyes, and it looks all weird. So
It looks very much like something from. It's like we had this leftover a concept from The Keep, and we're gonna
yeah,
in this. Yeah,
it's very dreamlike, and it's like because he's trying to imagine the fantasy of what Dollarhide is going through. Um, then we cut to Reba's at Dollarhide's place. He's watching a video of his next victims. I think, right? Okay.
yes, yes.
It's just like this lady with big boobs at a pool. So
Yeah.
it just gets played over and over again in a loop. So he pervs on Reba because like he looks at the lady in the movie and then like looks at Reba's boobs and he's but she doesn't see him, so he can perv all he wants. So
In the book, and I think also in the Red Dragon movie in 2002, like the dragon's talking to him at this point.
oh okay.
And he's also like, kill her now, and he's like struggling with this. We don't get this in the movie, but it's kind of weird to like watch his performance and know, oh, that was what is intended.
Yeah.
He was struggling because you find out because there's a really awkward sex scene that's about to come up.
Yeah.
And in the book, there's a very telling thing. It's like, this is the first time I've had an erection around a woman that was alive. Fine. So that's how screwed up this guy is.
Yeah, Reba makes a move on Dollarhide and kisses him. Then we cut to like they have sex. Then it's like sometime later they're in bed. She's asleep and he puts her hand on his mouth and he cries. So, yeah, they do this more in the Red Dragon movie because I don't have the context of the book about his child abuse, and so there's probably something to do with that.
Oh, his child abuse is horrific, and you can see it's like the Francis Dollarhide character makes a lot more sense in the book because it's like, oh, he was just abused by everyone.
Yeah.
And he was also a child that was born in the 40s that was horribly deformed.
Yeah.
In a time when you said horrible things about people, like even adults did. Even like the people that are supposed to take care of you in the foster home are like, oh, look at this hair lip kids, and it's like, because you got to remember it was described as he had a palate that was completely separate up into his nose and he had no palate in the top of his, it was all bifurcated.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even be able to speak properly. You just make like humming and clicking. So, because in the book, he didn't really speak properly.
Yeah.
He avoided S because he couldn't make that sound because of his, because he had poor medical care growing up in the book. So it wasn't really fixed right.
Okay.
But yeah.
The
movie does a lot of that where there's always a picture, the dragon's in the mirror, like, kill her. She will destroy us. And he's like, no, I love her. I don't get that so much here.
Yeah, I mean, the closer we get to his childhood is like Will at some point like describes like, oh, he's abused by his parents, and like that's what he empathizes with is like that child is innocent. The man he grew up to be is a total of like, this guy deserves to die. So
yeah.
We cut to it's morning. He wakes up alone and then he runs outside to find Reba by the dock. He keeps her from going back inside. I don't know why this is a problem. So
it's just him being weird.
Okay.
Or it's like, were you in my house? Did you find my secrets?
I like you're kind of doing a Bane voice for Dollarhide.
Yeah. It is in the, well, that's the voice of the dragon.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Which is like very, well, I don't know. I'm just imagining it in my mind. So if I had a nightmare voice, it would be something like Bane. Of course we're going to kill her. It's the only thing to do.
Would you like to create art with me?
Yeah.
So that'd be in the end act two, because Dollarhide gets laid, so that's the low point of the movie now. Although that would be an interesting movie of like a serial killer who like finds empathy and love with somebody and then like immediately regrets all the killings they did.
That's kind of what happens in the book.
Yeah,
That's why you have the voiceover of the dragon that comes in.
yeah.
Like it's italicized. Like it's clearly this is being said out loud. It's the dragon. It's like, no, she's mine. I will kill her. You will watch. And he's like, no, I don't. She is interfering with our becoming. That's you get a lot more of that in Red Dragon too. Also, he goes and actually eats the painting
Yeah.
in the movie. This doesn't do it here, but there would have never the way this movie was flowing at this point, they never could have had that. Let's take a trip to the New York Museum of Metropolitan Art painting. Like this movie wasn't going that way.
So we have Act 3. Will's in a hotel and he calls Lecter. Lecter implies Will like shooting a guy, which that's the guy you were talking about, where he basically had to shoot him a bunch of times to kill him, which is why he has his new gun in special rounds. So, um, Lecter clues in on like feeling like a god, which that kind of like gives Will something to like fantasize about to get to the killer's mind. Will goes back through the crime scene again with a slightly different narrative, where it's like he's imagining Dollarhide trying to like appear like a god before them. Um, then we see Dollarhide is in a van from the opening of the movie, so those are now intersected together. What's going on? He waits outside Reba's, and then he sees she's being escorted by like the other guy at the film processing place. Yeah. Here he like imagines her kissing the guy, but it's like clearly a fantasy sequence that Dollarhide is like overlapped on top of this. And then what really happened is the guy just like found an eyelash or whatever on her face and then takes that and he just leaves. And then she goes inside to her place and then Dollarhide like grabs the guy, like has like a silenced pistol and shoots him and kills him in the bushes. And then Dollarhide knocks on her door and then she opens it and she's like, "Is it you, Francis?" And he goes like, "He's gone forever." So it's weird. Just makes it extra weird. We cut to
Like the only attempt at saying like the dragon is here.
yeah.
This in this movie, but yeah.
We cut to Will talks with Jack about like his understanding of Dollarhide. This is where he mentions about like his child abuse and things like that. Uh, Bill starts talking about like souvenirs and stuff that the killer would take, and then it's a full moon tonight, and so Jack just wants to prepare for the next murder, but like Will's like, no, we can catch him. So then Will works out that like he's like seeing footage, and he's like, how would you know this? Like, how would you know this? Because like it's like because he brought a bolt cutter to cut a lock, but they changed the locks later on. But it's like, how did he know the lock was there in the first place? And that's when he puts together that he's seen these films, and so it's like, okay, this person is processing these films at a some film lab. Um, and so then like they have Jack calls up somebody who has the film evidence, and they get out the cans that the VHS tapes were originally processed from. And then like he finds a label for a lab, and they're like, look at the other one. The other one's like, it's just Big Joe's. And then like Will's like, look under the label. The big firms send them out, and then like they look under that label, and it's the same lab. So it's like all right, we found the guy, or we found where he works in his location. So
We got to get to St. Louis.
yeah, and they do have a Learjet standing by, ready to go. So, you think that Learjet's still in use today, Nathan?
Yes,
You think it's worth like millions of dollars still?
probably.
Okay.
I mean, they have planes they keep them forever.
Yeah.
They just keep them until the airframes are not like until the wings can snap off, and even then, sometimes they're maybe pushing the paperwork.
We cut to
Like Learjet. They tell like the pilots tell the guys because they're in the plane. They're doing that weird / radio cell talk that they could do back then, where you like talked into a cell phone, but it was sent on police band radio, and then they're looking through things, and the pilot's like, "You better put your seatbelts on." And they show like the whole plane like almost sideways, just trying to land at the fastest possible thing.
Yeah.
And then they leap out of the Learjet and get in these police cars that are waiting with the sirens on.
Yeah.
And they also, oh yeah, on the plane they do the weird like blocky like dot matrix, like let's go through the employees list. Who has a van? What do they look like? And then they find like, yeah, it's like some Mexican guy, and then some other guy who's like 5'10" on his license, and then here comes Tom Noonan, and the way they make his driver's license, like his head took up half the license. This is our guy, because it said he was like what 6'7" and like 300 pounds. It's like, this sounds like the guy.
And they fax a color, photo to the plane, so.
But it's all blocky. It's like
Yeah.
zero detail from it, because they're like, what do they call that back then? Dot matrix.
Dot matrix printer.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is just like sheets of paper. I remember back then, like almost everywhere you had like the sprocketed paper.
Oh yeah, the guide holes on the side. Yeah.
Which nobody will know what that is if you're not our age. But
yeah, no, you gotta be.
A printer, like a lot of printers, you would have all the pages would be stuck together with like these perforations that would hold all the paper together, and they would have little holes in it that these guide wires would pull the printer paper through and then print on it, and then and you separate it out afterwards, and like so they haven't done that for decades.
No, so. The cost of manufacturing that.
I remember I used to take the perforation pieces and I would like fold them over top of each other and kind of make a little spring. So
yeah.
But it's weird how that how pervasive that was, rather than just like the printers we have now or the printers we don't use now, until it's like, we weirdly need to print out a document. Like, why is this still a thing?
Yeah. Well, now the ink dried up. Time to go spend $40 on new ink to print one document,
or spend $30 on a new printer because it's cheaper.
Yeah. Throw the printer out and get a new printer with ink. Yeah.
Oh man, do you ever for a hot second they had the printer ink places that would refill your printer ink?
Yes.
And then first time you do that, and then your printer tells you this is a third party printer ink and you can't use it. It's like, man, fuck you. Reba's at Dollar Hides, and she's like a prisoner here. I'm not sure what's going on, or if she knows what's going on, but yeah, she's being held hostage by Dollar Hide. Dollar Hide starts playing Iron Butterflies in Agata Davida. So
basically to defeat her ability to hear where he is.
Yeah, she's like, she's like Daredevil in this scene. So, which they basically use the entire song in this thing. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, when Dollar Hide kills that guy outside her house, they're playing this song called Strong as I Am, which just seems like a super 80s song. I don't know, but it's
it is.
It just pops in for I remember that song, but it only pops in for, it basically just pops in long enough to say that line from the song and then disappears. So he kind of stalks her around the room, and then she tries to feel for a way out, and then she just kind of crumbles in a corner. There's also a picture of I don't know, the moon on the wall.
It's like a lunar escape poster, but it's very large.
Yeah,
probably 100 inches by 100 inches or something, really big.
We cut to Will and Jack are on a plane. They call in the station to get driver. Yeah, so yeah, and I know it's Dollar Hide. This is where you see Frankie Faison. He's Lieutenant Fisk. We see him for half a moment, but it's man, I know that guy. He's in tons of things. So. Which, like I said, he's also he is in Red Dragon as well, so in a more prominent role. So Will's plane lands. They run out of the plane into a police car. Which when Will runs out of things, he just goes full force. So it's
it's leapt out of an airplane.
Yeah,
don't get sucked into the engine.
Yeah, I'm watching this. Man, how did he not fall? How many takes did they do? Is he just have super balance or something like that? Dollarhide punches a mirror and grabs a sharp piece of it. He drags Reba to a sink and breaks a bit of the mirror into small pieces, so you think he's going to do some eye stuff here. We cut to Will loads up his revolver with the Glazer safety rounds. Jack says that the SWAT team will handle this, but like we know that's not going to happen. So they turn out the sirens and stop in the woods, and even like I think like the other police car like gets buried in a ditch. So, but they're trying to sneak up on Dollarhide. Um, um, Will sees Reba struggling with Dollarhide, and then Will runs and jumps through the window, and it's like slow motion on Will's side and like regular time on Dollarhide's side, and you know, Will just kind of like heroically jumps through this window, and then he's just immediately stopped by Dollarhide, and then Dollarhide just kind of slashes his face and throws him into the fridge, and then Will's just kind of like knocked out for a moment, but uh, Dollarhide's preoccupied with other things at the moment. Um,
Yes, this whole scene, the Dante Spinotti shot all the film at different speeds from different angles to create a disconcerted effect,
okay.
to create a chaotic effect.
Um, I didn't you have some trivia about this movie where like they had to like reshoot a bunch of stuff for some reason.
I don't remember that.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of a different movie. I thought there was something about this end scene where it was like rushed for some reason, or they were running out of money at this point, so they just kind
I mean, that might have been the case. It was a De Laurentiis film, so
of. Yeah, you don't know where the money's coming from. It's like, sorry, like my Italian drug dealers didn't bring enough cash this week, so. um, a Dollarhide grabs a shotgun. He's just kind of like wielding it with one hand and shooting cops. So it's
yeah.
like this is like
Lights out too, so they can't see him.
this is like a pistol for him. It's a pistol grip shotgun, which
It's a Remington 870
which
standard freight
but
shotgun.
Nathan hates pistol grip shotguns. It's just a great way
Yeah,
to break your wrist or whatever. So,
yeah, it's very hard on your. I mean, I guess if you had Francis Dollarhide's strength,
yeah.
if you had Red Dragon strength, you could one hand wield these things.
If you have the strength of a dragon, you can just one hand a shotgun.
Yeah.
So. He kills a bunch of cops. He also takes some hits, and then Dollarhide walks back into the kitchen, and then Will just empties his revolver of the Teflon Glazer safety rounds into Dollarhide and kills him. Um, but because he's a ruthless killer, there's still like there's a lot of like waiting for him to like come back to life, and thankfully he doesn't, because that would make the movie more stupid. So
No, yeah, you don't live through that. Now in the book, it's a little different because Dollarhide fakes his death, and it's a whole weird thing. I'm not going to go into the whole book thing because we're up about out of time here, but I will say in the book the shootout is a lot crazier because Dollarhide comes to the house, stabs Will in the face, and his wife is using the 44 Bulldog.
yeah.
Remember, I said they said Dollarhide had a beautiful head of blonde hair. Well, the wife is so crazy at this point, she just walks towards him in the kitchen, firing the gun until she's almost at point blank range into his head. And it's like his hair catches on fire on the floor with basically, she blew his entire head off.
All right.
She shot at his head and walked towards him the whole time. And then as he slumped down, she fired the last shot into the top of his head. His hair was on fire. She threw the gun away and then got into the shower. And then the police deputies showed up.
Yeah.
They're like, what's, because they go in the room. This guy's head it described his head as being completely deflated. It was like, hair was deflated into his neck, and the top of his head was on fire. It was even wilder shootout in the book where this woman was just driven insane because she thought he killed her son or something.
Yeah.
She just started running towards him, which he wasn't ready for, and just empties this gun into him at point blank range. And she's also described as being like a 5'3" woman.
Yeah.
In the book, he's like 6 foot, almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, this crazy woman just ran at him and shot him until his head exploded, and then caught his hair on fire. It's like, whoa, okay, it's an interesting end of the book.
Which I remember the thing there was in the Red Dragon movie. There was kind of an interesting thing where like Will basically starts to like abuse his son to trick to trick Dollarhide, which
Yes.
that's an interesting weird thing to do. So
That does not happen in the book either.
okay, all right.
That was a movie thing.
I mean, that was probably the most interesting bit of that movie. So
That was Ed Norton like, I'm going to make this darker than it has to be.
um we cut to they're outside. Will kind of consoles a distraught Reba, which we haven't spent a lot of time with this character, so this,
No. This character got kind of short shrifted in this movie.
And then it's like sunrise. Will stands at his dock with his empty gun, and then Jack just sort of like collapses near him. So just
Jack's been shot in the side with a shotgun.
oh, okay, I didn't realize that. Okay,
Dollarhide got him in the side with a shotgun, kind of at a distance,
yeah,
point blank range. Because this movie is, one time when Dollarhide shoots a cop, of course, he flies like 10 feet through the air. You know, the old shotgun magic where it
yeah.
just through the air like an artillery blast. That was present here. But yeah, Jack. Right after that, he shoots at Jack in the woods. So neither one of them talk. They're just kind of laying there hurt.
Yeah. Then we got to Will's on the beach. It's sometime later. You see, like he has a couple of facial scars from Dollarhide, but Will's back with his family, and so they stopped a murderer. So presumably Will can get back to a regular life, but you never know. But
Yeah,
so that's the end of Manhunter. So yeah, really interesting movie.
great
And,
movie.
and I'm not sure if it. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't have the experience of seeing this before seeing Silence of the Lambs, so I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess you did, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So,
Like I said, this movie, this was kind of the beginning of Nathan pays attention to movies that aren't Blade Runner. When Silence of the Lambs came out, it's like, oh, I'm definitely into movies now. Movies and books are sometimes cool together. But this was kind of interestingly the prototype for that. So it's kind of weird because it's like same writer, same subject matter, different book, but it's like, yeah. Yeah, so the original Hannibal Lecter movies always have a special place in my heart as being like deeply weird, disturbing movies about subjects that everyone who's tried to do something like this since has been pretty pale imitations of.
Yeah.
So that's always been kind of disappointing. It's like, where's this going next? It's like, no, you hit peak cool on this. This is now you've got to do something else.
Well, that's like the interesting thing about True Detective, because True Detective is interesting, but like ultimately the bad guys kind of like doesn't meet up to the expectations.
No.
But the journey there is amazing. So
Yeah. Still one of my favorite TV shows. Right up there with Twin Peaks is being like, this is awesome.
Because you're thinking like, man, is like this gonna become supernatural? Like, is this person like the smartest person real? It just kind of ends. It's like, oh, these just off bad people. So well, we're center problem to Stace Canay, a supercut of scenes from the Imperfect Collection, and that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what one scene from this movie are we shoving into space?
Well, actually, we're going to send something that you showed me years ago that I loved. We're going to go to YouTube and we're going to type in the title for the song by Ween called Object, which is a weird satirical song about a serial killer that has only intercuts of this particular movie in it.
Okay.
Works out beautifully. It's a great song by a weird band.
You're just an object to me.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to know you better.
You fall asleep. They found your sweater. You know I love you. I love you forever.
Oh man, Ween is it's
It's hysterical.
yeah, man, it's something you gotta find yourself because it's hard to describe. I mean, you show somebody Bananas and Blow, it's like it's immediately funny, but like you gotta go deeper. Like when you get into like, they have an album called like 13 golden oldies, and it's a western soundtrack with only like 8 songs on the album. It's like just
It's called Undermining Expectations.
it's brilliant nonsense. I think it's like they're brothers, and then like they broke up like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah,
and also I think like their most famous song is just kind of weird nonsense, but their best songs are the are like those ones. So. Bananas and Blow and Object are really good. Or I think the album it's called Chocolate and Cheese. That's just a good album. And then Object is actually from the one with I think it's like La Cucaracha,
yeah,
because that means cockroach, right? It's in
yeah,
yeah, because the album is just a cockroach.
yeah. But find that, and that will explain this movie to you.
So, uh, you can find us a letterbox username VHE. 1 out of 5 stars. What are we giving Manhunter?
Oh, five.
Okay.
Like I said, it's my summer
What
movie.
what was the critical reception at the time?
Oh, it was pretty poor.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's not something that it
They just
didn't.
didn't like the subject matter.
They thought the soundtrack was overbearing. It was too stylized.
Eh.
The character development wasn't the greatest. It seemed to like in the middle. It just seemed to like jump onto a high speed rail track.
Yeah.
What you saw as the middle was actually the last third of the movie. It's like, okay, we got to get this in, get this in, get this in. And they said like some of the stuff was way too stylized and didn't really like, what does this mean? Why are we doing this? But then like after things like Heat and Silence of the Lambs, it gets this kind of rehabilitation
Yeah.
where it's like, yeah, this is a good movie. It's Michael Mann did it, and this is what Michael Mann does. And he was kind of in that TV production mode cycle at the time. So yeah, this sort of looked like Miami Vice, but it also had its own voice. And so yeah, it wasn't the greatest reception. It didn't make its money back. Everyone thought the title of the movie was stupid. If they called this Red Dragon, it would have been much more successful. I don't know about
No.
that, but
I think it's weird that they have the FBI show Mindhunters,
yeah,
which is pretty good, and then also weirdly just like canceled for no good reason.
no good reason to cancel that.
I mean, I guess because it's expensive, but whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Netflix has spent much more money on worse things.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've put out pure trash before for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Um, and then there is a weird, like, very bad FBI horror movie called Mindhunter. I think it
Okay,
has like Val Kilmer in it, and it's directed by Rennie Harlan.
okay,
I think also like Christian Slater is in it.
huh? All right.
And then like, but it's one of those movies where it's like, well, these are FBI agents. They're supposed to be the smartest people in the world, and they all die like teenagers in a Friday the 13th movie. So
Oh, that's right. I remember this one. Yeah, everyone dies like, don't climb in the cement mixer to hide. He'll turn it on. You know, like shit. Like,
yeah. Well, Nathan, what did we learn today?
well, what we learned is, um, if you're blind, don't date the most intriguing guy in the room. Um, what else have we learned?
Psychopaths can be charming. Don't trust it.
Yeah, psychopaths can be fun. If your psychiatrist is too charismatic, watch out.
Don't jump through a plane glass window
Don't jump
towards a guy that's 6'7" can bench press 300 pounds.
You can military press 300 pounds.
Just shoot the window.
Yeah, just shoot through the window. Well, no, your safety slugs would just bounce around.
Oh, maybe. Okay, that makes a sort of sense, I guess.
Yeah, and that window also had a steel ribbed frame on it. That's like a single pane window, which I don't know where they would have those in St. Louis because that house would be hot as hell to retain any cold air.
Well, you can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There we have listener support. You can support us on monthly stipend, either 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. Cancel anytime. You can rate our podcast whatever you want. You can rate us whatever. You can rate our podcast whatever you want. The only thing the algorithm listens is the highest ratings. Remember, control the algorithm. Give us an advantage. Give us a boon to follow the rest of our lives with. Okay.
Yeah. Let's make this happen, people. Don't give out money to venture capitalists. Control the algorithm. Don't let them swindle you out of your estate.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. And you can find us at Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. And you can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.